Yo, what's going on, people? Look, man. As many might know, Andy Ruiz is my favorite modern fighter. He's my favorite fighter to this day. And the reason is because when we think about anomalies, when we think about important shit in terms of sports, there's nothing like a David versus Goliath story, a rags to riches tale, right? Undersized men competing versus huge behemoths of men, right? So when I think of like successful players, right, like LeBron James being 6'8", that's fantastic. But Steph Curry being 6'2", that amazes me. How they're able to be outliers in a world, that's dominated in terms of these sports where size matters. So where only size matters to certain teams, to certain positions, right? Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, them being 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", it makes sense why they dominate the sport that they do. But then there's short guys like Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, right? In boxing, it's Andy Ruiz, Manny Pacquiao, Mike Tyson. Those guys, for me, will live through like the dawn of time, of existence, right? Of the cosmos, because Anthony Joshua, Wilder, Tyson Fury, guys that are 6'7", 6'9", those are also anomalies in their own right. But it makes sense why they would dominate. They got the arm length, they got the size, they got the stature, right? They got quickness. It makes sense why they would dominate. They're big. And I'm not saying that they don't work hard, but I'm just saying I'm much more impressed, me personally, from the short guys, the David versus Goliaths of the world, right? The one that are able to overcome these obstacles, these limitations, right? These inherited genes, and are able to hurt and knock out 6'6", 6'7", tall ass men, right? That's why, like, when I look down in my list of favorite fighters, we got Manny Pacquiao, Juan Manuel Marquez, right? Chocolatito, Andy Ruiz. I like the short fighter, right? Not necessarily because I'm particularly short, like average height, but I just feel like those fighters just have natural charisma. When you look at them, before they even speak of a word, and especially when it comes down to Andy Ruiz, you're like, bro, you ain't no fucking boxer. I mean, that's what everybody thought that night, right? Where he hit up Eddie Hearn on the DMs and the stars aligned. And it was meant to be for that night, for somebody to arise from the ground, from the downtrodden, right? Where people already, another man's trash, right, becomes someone's treasure, right? That was Andy Ruiz. He embodies that aspect. He is the most influential heavyweight, or should be, right now, right? Because when you hear Wilder speak, then he shows his charisma, right? But it's kind of intimidating if you don't ever hear him speak. He's got tattoos, like, damn, bro. Same thing with Fury. He's like, God damn, that's a big ass dude. Then you look at Andy, you're like, bro, let's go eat some tacos and drink some beer. You feel me? Like, let's go get some nachos and dip it on some lemon and tapatio type of shit. Right? He's got natural charisma before you even see him smile. Before you hear his soft tone, you're like, bro, you wouldn't know he would be a boxer, right? And that's Andy. He's got that natural charisma. And then you find out, like, this dude knocks the block off dudes that are 6'7". Going back to that night, all right, the stars aligned for him to take over the world, right? Nobody believed him. Everybody wrote him off. They're like, bro, why are you fighting him? This dude just popped, baby Miller just popped dirty for like 3 type of steroids. Andy hits up Eddie on the DMs. Eddie sends him a contract. Andy, less than a month's fight notice after knocking out Alexander Dimitrenko in Carson, California, goes on to fight Anthony Joshua on December 7th, 2019, right? And then something miraculously happened in the early stages of the round. Finds himself dropped the first time in his career. He arises and catches on the exchanges on a tempo shot to Joshua, and that's all she wrote. The fight lingered a couple more rounds, and Andy, like a proud little kid that got his first chocolate bar, bounces up in the ring. He's like, man, we made it. That was my favorite moment. And to this day, there hasn't been another spectacular moment. The other one that comes to my recollection is Ruslan Provodnikov, when he starts yelling, "Mama!" like in his Russian dialect, and you just see the passion, the tears as his face is like pounded, and the heart pulsing all in his head, right? It's all red marks, and he's like, "Mama!" There's only certain moments in boxing that you're like, I don't know, like the chakras or the auras, you fucking get divided, and you see all the, like, it does something to you. I don't really know how to explain it. Andy Ruiz versus Joshua 1 had that moment. Look, man, as Andy rose to fame that night, in my opinion, it also ended up being the worst night that possibly he could have had, because as millions of people were shocked and couldn't accept that essentially a butter bean could be, like a chiseled Greek god, right? In Joshua. There was a lot of people that wanted to harness Andy's energy and kind of steal that spotlight and associate with a champion, the first Mexican champion ever in the history of boxing, in the history of Mexican American boxing, let alone Mexican boxing. So he rose to fame, but as that was happening, Joshua, like Sugar Ray Leonard, right? They were like, that was a fluke. And they made their adjustments and they continued training. And Andy, like Robert Duran back in Panama, he was being revered. People were throwing parties, partying to the morning, all the way to night, waking up in the morning, probably women left and right, just gawking at him. You had rappers and musicians and, tattoo artists trying to get all in that influence. Right, trying to associate with Andy, selling them this dream, man, you should make documentaries, you should make movies, all while he should be training to showcase people and tell people that it wasn't a fluke, that I didn't get lucky that night, that I have the skill. He got overweight. Manny Robles was doing interviews and trying to bring Andy back, right, to the humble roots and be like, bro, we signed a contract, bro. We got it. This guy wants his get back. And while all this is going, Anthony Joshua is studying the tape, making his corrections, making his adjustments. And when they rematch, Joshua takes his shit back. And Andy, couldn't make his adjustments. All if he had taken it serious. Everything that happened to Andy is a gorgeous tale. And also, as we know now, as things start to develop, it's also a horrific tale, right? We saw the rich side of Andy. And that's what everybody would do. Shit, if you won the lottery, especially not just off blind luck, like Andy worked hard for it, like many people in the world, right? But he got struck by lightning that night. And he got the lottery. Another paycheck is coming in the rematch. He made history, right? But what would be his long-standing legacy? Is he just gonna be a one-hit wonder, right? Or is he gonna continue the success? Well, as we all know, the story unfolds and Andy couldn't replicate the results. Joshua came back, took his belts, never gave him, the third fight, the rubber match. And Andy became bewildered and his whole mentality started changing, started buying houses. Like, again, if you won the lottery, you would do the same thing too. You would buy all these Lamborghinis, you would buy the G-Wagons, you would buy all these things you've ever wanted. Maybe an old school classic car, flip it, put an LS engine, got that running. You would be going crazy. You would be dating supermodels. Even if you was married, that's what you would do, right? So his whole mentality changed. And that's when we start seeing the rich Andy, when we needed that poor man Andy again for one more night. You see, because I think Andy has the skill to beat Deontay Wilder, right? He's better from a technical standpoint than all these heavyweights besides Usyk. But I also think he could give Usyk a tougher fight than Chisora, Joshua, and all these because he's short by nature. So digging to the body would be easy. The only thing is Usyk's got good footwork, and that pawing jab and activity could trouble Andy. But Andy can take that punch. Because Usyk does not hit harder than Joshua. Usyk does not hit harder than King Kong Ortiz. But what makes Usyk amazing is his feints, his activity in terms of footwork, understanding space, his punch combinations. But Andy, being short fighter, can punch with him as he always does and catch him in the exchanges. You want an active fighter to come towards Andy because boom, his counter punching ability is going to work. He attacks head and body. And naturally, the smaller fighter, it's going to go easy to attack. There ain't going to be no low blows like Daniel Dubois. So let me digress. The tale of rich Andy versus poor Andy. And we need poor Andy back, right? He's losing it all. And it's not just the mentality to like continue to work hard as a poor man. You need to be able to balance the two or be extreme in one way or the other. And he's messing up his business. Rich Andy comes to the table, especially when this Wilder fight. He says, I want 25 million. I'm not too sure what the negotiations are, but let's just throw some numbers. And maybe the fight only generates 25 to 50 million, but he wants it guaranteed, and it doesn't make any sense. So just like sign the fight, right? Get a guarantee with pay-per-view upside. And if you beat Wilder, turn the tables on him. Hey, bro, you wanted 80-20 when I fought you? If I beat you and when I beat you, you take the same 80-20 on the rematch. It only makes sense. Bet on yourself again. But he priced himself out, and Wilder's turned away. So where does this leave Andy? Essentially with his dick in his hand in the cold wind, in the snow. Like, what is there? You fought Chris Arreola, people didn't really buy that pay-per-view. You fought King Kong Ortiz, people didn't really buy the pay-per-view. In fact, to be honest with you, both of those fights shouldn't be on pay-per-view. The risk versus the reward, I get it. Those are risky fights, especially the King Kong Ortiz. I understand why it would be on pay-per-view, but you're missing, you want people to view you. Andy has lost a whole lot of momentum. Going back to that night of December 7, 2019, it was his peak moment, but he couldn't supersede it. He couldn't follow through and replicate the results again and again and again, right? Because the first fight was really important. Beating Alexander Dimitrenko and Carson was very important. Beating Anthony Joshua is very important. But beating Anthony Joshua twice is much more important than the first time. See, the first time people couldn't believe it. People didn't want to accept it. They said, Joshua looked off. They were saying a bunch of excuses. He was having panic attacks, should have changed trainers. He was getting knocked down in sparring. You heard all these rumors, right? It was all hearsay, right? He's his first time landing in the United States. You know, it's the USA takeover, like Eddie Hearn was saying with the transatlantic, deal. Oh, I'm here. I'm got the $1 billion deal. All these things came with Joshua. There was this train. And Andy put a heart to it. He needed to follow through twice, and he didn't. From then on, he got too big for his bridges. Everything that we don't want to become, Andy started to showcasing that. It's like a fucking story, man. It's like a great documentary that we should see, and we're seeing it in real time. But Andy, I don't know where he goes from now because he needs to have that poor man mentality again. And this rich man version of Andy is the reason why he's going through all these tantrums at home, right? His wife is hacking into his account and exposing them, and there's being hit with divorce, and he's feeling this sense of desperation where he's got to I got to maximize my profits, just like any businessman, any product has to do, right? Before, you get taken over by like Amazon and Sears got to cancel. Look, man, Andy is the greatest heavyweight, and he should be the most influential heavyweight to right now. Just to repeat a couple of things again. It doesn't surprise me how guys like Tyson Fury, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, these guys that have size are able to dominate the profession. But the guys short like Andy, Mike Tyson, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, the little Manny Pacquiao's of the world, that's much more inspirational because there's probably more smaller men or equal to them size than there is to 6'9" Tyson Furies in the world. I'm not saying Tyson Fury isn't an anomaly in itself because the way he's able to move at that size, at that weight, it's fucking incredible, right? But the tale of Andy, man, is my favorite story that I can ever see. Like, again, the homie just got natural charisma. Just natural charisma. before he says the word, like, bro, just seeing him on screen, the little like sideburn lonjita, like belly juggling, bro, that's just fucking cool. Like, that's everybody's, like, somebody has that in their street. I gotta take this call. Give me a second, guys. Yo, my bad, guys. My mama was, she gave me a call. She was talking about baseball. You got to answer the phone for your mama. Lives aren't that important. She's just talking about baseball, about the Cardinals. I guess they might have been eliminated or something. Look, man, that's my little train of thought. So where does Andy Ruiz come from? Where does he go from here? Right? Who does he fight? Looks like Deontay Wilder and Joshua. They got their maybe 2-fight deal happening sometime next year in January. Then probably they'll carry over to May. So who does Andy fight? The reality is Andy just got to stay active. You just got to get back into the ring because people are forgetting about you. You just need to get back in flow, right? You just got to compete. You got to go through the rigorous of training camp. You got to spar. You got to feel leather to the face. You got to feel your bone structure impact on somebody else's skull. You just need to get back to being who you are. And who you are at heart is a fighter with a bunch of heart and with great IQ. In fact, I feel like he's got to go back to Manny Robles because if you go look at the interviews, and I'll probably pull it up, Manny Robles is a man of faith. He's a man of God, like most of us, and a very humble dude. And there was some dark times, just like how Top Rank had let go of Andy. Andy didn't really know where to go. PBC opened up the doors. They gave him a home. Manny Robles also lost a lot of fighters. Michael Conlon left, right? Oscar Valdez left and went to Eddie Reynoso. Jesse Magdaleno probably just had gotten knocked out by Isaac Dogbo. So Manny Robles had a whole lot of fighters and talent. And Andy Ruiz is the only one that stayed with Manny Robles. They shocked the world, right? Manny Robles gave an amazing speech. He was crying on camera. He's like, man, God gave us a calling and it happened. It was gorgeous to see, right? Just seeing hard work pay off. But again, Andy should have stayed with Manny Robles. It reminds me of a story of Frankie Gomez, all right? For those that don't know about Frankie Gomez, he's a boxer, an amazing boxer, an amazing talent, and a great amateur background alongside with Jose Benavides Jr. In fact, these were the two highly touted Mexican Americans from like East Los or Arizona area, and Golden Boy wanted to sign both of them. Jose goes to sign with Top Rank and Bob Arum, and Frankie Gomez signs with Oscar De La Hoya. Frankie Gomez, probably his biggest fight was outboxing Mauricio Herrera. That same Herrera that was very pesky with his jab and his like awkward style, Danny Garcia and probably Jose Benavides Jr. as well. Well, Frankie Gomez outboxed him, circled around him, just pitched the shutout. And Frankie Gomez, like Andy, they stopped going to the boxing gym. They probably, I don't know, maybe they like boxing, maybe they found a way, or they were just talented. But Freddie Roach started knocking at Frankie Gomez's home, started looking for him. Frankie Gomez was probably hanging with the wrong crowd, probably just eating and not training. And for a trainer as established like Freddie Roach to go house to house, look for you, call you, and try to take you out of the slums to get your ass in the gym because you got something that something that can make you great if you channel and you harness and you discipline yourself. Frankie Gomez was never to be seen ever again. I'm not saying he died or anything, but in terms of the boxing, like he's no longer exists in the sport of boxing. He's alive now. I think from what I hear, he's like an auto technician, like a mechanic. But he could have been something special alongside Freddie Roach, especially if you got the backing of, Golden Boy and that East Los connection. Frankie Gomez could have been something. Manny Robles was essentially doing the same thing with Andy. He was looking for him, and Andy was partying, bro. He was like, man, I'm trying to get the Snickers deal. All these little things, just promoting, trying to elevate the situation. But all those deals will come if you just follow through for one more night. And Andy couldn't. I'm going to read a couple of the comments. Larry Liston says, salute Ricky and Speed. Do you guys think that Hearn paid Andy to come in overweight in that second AJ fight? Or was it Andy's partying and eating, getting out of control? What's going on, Mr. Vince Vargas? I think you probably put an emoji, brother, but it's not really coming up on the icon. People forget how good. Okay, to first answer your question, Mr. Liston, I don't think Eddie Hearn paid Andy to come in overweight. To your second statement, yeah, man, Andy was just partying and eating and enjoying that good life that the world had to offer with supermodels, falling all over you, associating with musicians, you know what I mean? Like, let's say Michael Jackson was there and he's like at your home and in your presence, or, one of the Beatles or something during these times, like, you're going to be with them. Like, bro, these are like the icons of the world. Now, I'm not too sure if Andy was associated with those people, but he was probably hanging with Baby Bash. I think he's like an LA like R&B singer or from Texas. I'm not too sure, but he was just partying and not training while AJ was. See, that's one of the difference between AJ and Andy is that AJ is able to be consistent, right? AJ is willing to put in the hard work. Like, he didn't get chiseled just because I'm 6'6". There's many people that are 6'6" or 6'8" in the world and they're skinny, right? AJ puts in that hard work, right? While he doesn't have that experience as he's still young and he's learning, and, that's what Andy lacks. He lacks that discipline, not just in the dinner table, but in that mindset. AJ, and if you look at all these fighters that continue and have longevity and remain at the top, like Bud Crawford, Tank Davis, Canelo Alvarez, Naoya Inoue, they are exposed to money at not a really young age, but yeah, in the grand scheme of things, a relatively young age. And they're able to consistently discipline themselves. Sure, they go through ups and downs and fluctuate in a way, and maybe some shit happens along the way, but because they're able to have a taste of money early in their life, like 20 years old, 18 years old, by the time that they're 24, 6 years pro, and they're still making that money, right? They're used to it. And now it's just more and more and more and more and more. And the only way I get that more and more is by winning. Andy probably didn't have a big lucrative contract ever until that moment. And that moment was just too big for him that I wouldn't say he caved under pressure, but in terms of being able to execute at the Super Bowl and to be able to follow through, it's a very difficult thing to do. In most sports, when you do win the Super Bowl, that same team, unless you're like Patrick Mahomes, it's very difficult to repeat, right? Unless you're like the Chicago Bulls in the 80s or the early 90s, it's very difficult to repeat. So that was Andy's Super Bowl, right? And the thing is, kind of like Robert Durant, he won his Super Bowl against Sugar Ray. He partied a lot. They do have discipline, but it was just a moment of time where the cosmos first aligned, and then the fucking black hole just came, boom, and swallowed everything up. So yeah, man, just to break it down a little bit, I just think that Andy's partying and eating, he wasn't able to. He was enjoying the moment, and AJ, he corrected the wrong. People forget how good Jose was before he was shot in the leg. Crawford didn't take that fight till Benavidez was shot in the leg and basically became a one-legged fighter. Yeah, a lot of people, I always felt like Jose had an amazing talent. If you guys go to YouTube and type in Jose Benavidez sparring Sergey, not Darenchenko, Sergey Lipinets, you start noticing these amazing body left hook technique that Jose had. He was a force to be reckoned with. But I always felt, even up to that Terrence Crawford fight, if we look at fights like Mauricio Herrera and even the fight before Herrera, Jose wasn't really living up to expectations. Like, some fighters, you have to, it's like that saying that Errol Spence says. He goes, having that fight with Bud, it brings emotion to my life. I wake up with a sense of drive, right? And Jose, he's probably fighting a lot of these like Mauricio Herrera's, and he's like, bro, these aren't big fights. So he doesn't really wake up with that same hunger and passion like he did with Bud Crawford, right? He actually worked really hard, but to your point, he was shot in the leg. So he was dragging that fucking foot. as he starts getting fatigued and the blood force starts to like, coagulate there and starts to like harden, he's dragging that thing. He's not able to cut off the ring. If you go look at that fight versus Danny Garcia, he was doing good versus Danny. But again, Danny circled around him, fought it smart. But again, Jose can't cut off the ring because, like, bro, like I'm dragging a fucking leg that essentially I have no nerves feeling there. But yeah, man, it was just timing on that. Speed goes, good day to you, gents, Mr. Vargas, and listen, peace. Larry, listen, you know who I think Andy should team up with? I think this is going to be controversial, but I really think a guy like Memo Heredia would make him in prime shape all the time. That is a really good point. I do think so as well. I'm pretty sure that he has a strength and nutritionist coach, but he probably does have to team up with a wizard like Memo, right? You look at the transformation of body that David Benavidez has been going since they included Memo in his gym, right? Or like an Alex Ariza with Pacquiao, or hell, even a Victor Conte with Snack and VADA testing. Yeah, Andy would benefit. In fact, any boxer in the sport of boxing will benefit with these guys having. But again, there is that asterisk, and everybody doesn't kind of want to associate with guys that are able to manipulate the system and bypass things, because then people start talking and wondering, man, I don't know. His body looks different. Look, Memo might be. So then you start becoming a question mark. But yeah, I would agree. Andy would benefit from all these guys. But just, again, I just want to see Andy fight. I don't care who it is, bro. Just go fight another Alex Diminchenko. Yo, what's going on, Speed? How you been, brother?
Oh, hey, how you doing, though, homie Ricky? No, I'm doing excellent. I'm doing excellent. Just I wanted to thank you very much for inviting me to another live, so that I can have an opportunity to chime in on the various going ons in the world of boxing, in particular the case at hand, which is the topic of Andy Ruiz. But right now, I'm glancing out the window as I'm charging my phone in my SUV, looking to my right and watching what seems to be the development of a full moon. And if I'm not mistaken, they're calling it a blue moon being the second full moon in the time frame of a month. So I guess maybe this month of September we had a full moon, probably at the outset of the month, and then right now before the end of the month we have another opportunity to glance at another full moon. And for whatever reason or another, these geniuses they decide to call it a blue moon, but there ain't nothing blue about it. In fact, it looks like a mild cheddar looking moon. So uh, otherwise, that's a long answer for saying I'm doing well. And how do you do?
Yeah, man, I'm doing pretty good, brother. Just here, just lifting some weights, doing some push-ups, and talking some good old Andy Ruiz boxing. I got a
Andy
question for you, man.
Ruiz.
I got a question
Ouch.
for you.
Oh yeah.
Do you think Andy is able to get back that momentum that he once had, or do you think now at the age of 33 and really having no dance partner, and what his expectations are in terms of compensation, right? What he wants to be, like what he thinks he's worth. Do you think he's able just to like humble himself and get back on the grind?
I believe a a major degree of complacency has set in that boy. Um, he has attained what a lot of poor folk have attained, have never attained, and he's attained that in a very short time frame, with having one fight with what I consider a great fighter, in Anthony Joshua. He basically won the equivalent of a lottery, and he sure partied and lived like if that's exactly what he had won. An infinitesimal amount of money, which probably in his own ideations he never imagined that would ever run out. Now, from what I understand, he's done a lot of things with that money, including purchase a lot of recreational vehicles, a lot of luxurious cars, but also properties. And the fact that he purchased properties allows him to think about a life outside of the sport of boxing, outside of this violent waltz of bloody noses and cracked fists. So when you start moving in a way that in one sense you're not taking the sport seriously, and we know that because of what he's been doing outside of the sport. And secondly, making investments which can almost assure you that you do not need the sport of boxing in your life anymore, then it's much easier for you to get into a mind state where you no longer care about boxing enough to make anything notable afterwards. I think he's reached the summit of his legend, and having beaten Anthony Joshua, I think he's fallen to some great depths afterwards, including having changed his character as a result of that triumph. And ever since then, the turmoil that has become his personal life outside of the sport, I do not think we'll ever see the full potential of a chubby, Snickers eating Andy Ruiz Jr. ever again. And the way that he is speaking, thinking that he deserves 25 million, 10 million for a fight with the likes of Deontay Wilder, where none of them have any belts for us to want to pay to watch. And further, their numbers have ever since been decreasing in the pay-per-view department. I would say no, he does not want to fight, and he definitely doesn't want to fight on the cheap. And I don't think $2 million would be cheap. I don't think $5 million would be cheap. I think maybe he's good for a $3.5 million fight with the likes of Anthony of Deontay Wilder, maybe getting a good 5 or 6. But at this juncture, none of those, none of the potential fights that we can see on the horizon for Anthony Joshua, any prospective fights, can make him the kind of money that he's been talking about in the recent missives. So I think we should accustom ourselves to thinking of a world outside uh, of boxing where where Andy Ruiz is even a participant in it. I think we may not necessarily see him again, and if we do see him, we won't see him in any kind of interesting fights where we can expect him to ever hold the belt or entertain us enough to pay money to see him.
Yeah, man. Yeah, to your point, Larry writes some amazing comments. He goes, maybe a tough question, and he's kind of reinforcing your point. Has Andy became too Americanized in regards in his success? The second AJ fight was supposed to be the biggest fight of his career, and he barely trained for that. Look at Navarrete and his conquest for legacy and how he was continued to stay humble. There is a certain warrior mentality in Mexican fighters that I think Andy has kind of left in some way.
Well, so
And I
believe it or not,
yeah,
you
he
know,
got that American bug of laziness and comfort. Yeah,
ouch.
man.
So
I that's a very great point, because when I look at how they speak and the buildup of Navarrete and Oscar Valdez, right? Navarrete was very humble. He was like, "Look, man, this is my toughest fight with Oscar, and it's an honor to fight Valdez." And he would say this, I don't know if I could beat him. He's very talented, and I've known him since the amateurs, and he's always been at the top. He's always been at the top, like echelon fighter.
mhm.
And that's a very humble way to look at your fellow opponent. Most of the time you'd be like, man, I got the size, I got the length. This will be a tough fight, but I'm able to overcome. He was a humble warrior. That Navarrete is, and yes, his conquest for legacy. Like when you look at him, he like the way he fights and his size and body build, he looks very lethargic. Like he has like no way he's lunging and throwing these wild uppercuts and losing his balance, and he throws another punch just to redirect his balance and catch his feet underneath him.
Mhm.
It's very interesting. But yeah, I completely agree with what you say, Speed and Larry. What were you gonna say, brother?
So what I was gonna try and address Mr. Larry Liston's comment that precedes that one, which is the first one. for the gentleman of the night, where he salutes both yourself and I, and he posits the question of whether or not Mr. Edward Hearn, or as I like to call him, Eduardo Hernandez, um, whether or not he may have paid Andy. I don't know why those two names just roll off the tongue similarly, but whether he paid Andy to come in overweight in the second HA fight. Um, and first off, I would like to say that I really do not think that would be the case, Mr. Liston, because of the culture of most Mexicans. And I know this is probably going to be a generalization, probably quite erroneous one, but it is apropos for certain regions of Mexico and their cultures, which is that the cultural uh, lifestyle, in particular the dietary, is one that is heavily uh, heavily consistent of corn and proteins. In the Mexican cultures, the Aztecs, they had this thing about the three sisters, and the three sisters consist of, I think it's corn, is one of them. Um, and maybe you can correct me, homie Ricky, but do you know what the other two sisters are?
Yeah, the three sisters are corn, beans, and squash.
Corn, beans, and squash. Okay, so protein and starch. Um, and of course fibrous material with the squash, but nonetheless there the food of the Mexican nationals does consist of a lot of protein, a lot of carby foods, quite rich and delicious food. And I know that that is again just a generalization, because there are other parts of the nation state of Mexico, perhaps the more rural, uh, what you would assume to modern standards to be impoverished areas like Chiapas, Oaxaca, and all them places, where their food is much more simpler. And yes, it does consist of the three sisters, maize and beans and squash, but they just don't incorporate much protein in that, because they use a lot of herbs and plants in their diet. But that's a long answer for saying that the Mexican cuisine can develop a lifestyle where you can become quite heavy set easily, especially if you don't exercise to compensate for the extra carbohydrates that you're taking in. Now, the one thing that I wanted to address, that was the first thing, but the second is, so I don't think Edward Hearn would necessarily have to spot this guy a couple of dollars under the table to really get out of control with his eating habits, because we already know that the gentleman was on the chubby side. And secondly, the diet of the Mexican can promote obesity. Now, as for the other thing, which is if whether or not Andy has become too Americanized, I think this one is going to be a bit more controversial, the way that I answer it. For one, I do understand why Mr. Liston would phrase the question as whether or not it's an American thing for a fighter to, think that he's worth more and that he should train less, and we can construe that as being less humble and lazy, because we do know that a lot of fighters of the United States of America do have this arrogance about them, that this allows them from taking on certain fighters, because we think they're Euro bumps or Afro bumps or Mexa bumps or whatever it is. They don't like to travel abroad to take on fights, because they think that the fighters should come to them. Another proof of that arrogance. But the fact of the matter is that the American is very competitive, very, very competitive. And the funny thing about that is that Andy Ruiz Jr. has called himself a Mexican. Now, If I'm not mistaken, Andy Ruiz Jr. was born in the United States, somewhere in the southern California. So he is American by nationality in the
Imperial.
Imperial Valley, right?
Yeah.
So he's from the Imperial Valley, I guess maybe Riverside or somewhere over there. But nonetheless, he is an tried and true American. But he doesn't identify himself as an American. He calls himself the first Mexican heavyweight champion. Now, anybody can feel free to identify themselves however they want. He can call himself a Mexican. He can call himself an American. If he appreciates both countries, he can call himself a Mexican American. If he wants to represent both nations, he can call himself a Chicano and say, "Hey, I have roots in Mexico, so I like to honor the antecedents of my bloodline, along with the pride that I do take as being an American national." So he can call himself whatever he wants, but he chose to call himself a Mexican. Now, if we take him for the way that he identifies himself as a Mexican, not an American, then we can say that, at least in this case, this Mexican is lazier and has become less humble than the American fighter.
Yeah, man. So I'm not gonna get an intro or anything, man.
Oh,
I'm just kidding, man. How you guys? How you
welcome
guys
on
doing?
board, Drew.
Now, how you guys doing?
Yo, what's going on,
Good.
Drew?
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
good.
doing all right, Drew. How you
Good,
doing?
good, 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 man. Sorry, I was kind of busy with the fam right now, but yeah, man. Andy just pretty much priced himself out, I guess, like with the Wilder fight, you know. So I don't know. He thinks, you know, he puts a lot of butts in the seats, but in reality, he's just a contender. I mean, he'll always be remembered for being like the first Mexican, you know, heavyweight ever. But for some reason, he's trying to get paid like 25 mil, and it's like, dude, like, you're not
Yo,
gonna
one
get
of you
even.
guys have a lot of wind background. Knock it off.
You're
Okay,
tripping.
It's you, dude.
yeah,
You're
it's
kidding.
me. It's
Oh,
me.
you.
Nah,
All
it's
right.
me. I had my fan right here.
Oh, okay.
It was me. But how is it now?
Perfect, perfect.
Okay.
I just fucking with you, bro.
Yeah, no, he wanted a 25 mil, but I guess he priced himself out. That was too much, man. There's not too many guys getting paid that much, but he said he ended up saying 10 mil in the recent video. And said he's willing to fight for that much.
Yeah, because the bag fucking walked away.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, it's too. I don't know if it's too late or not, but it's sounding like it, you know. And then, who knows? Maybe they fight. Wilder gets a fight in between here and AJ, you know, and just gets a quick bag, you know, on the side. But I don't know, man. That's kind of too soon. We're already in August. You know, there's only like 4 more months in the year, so I don't know. It's not looking likely, you know. So my guess is that he fights AJ next, and it sucks for Andy. You know, he missed his opportunity. He's gonna have to wait. He's gonna have to, you know, get the next available opponent, you know, and try to chase another bag, you know, because yeah, it's not looking like it's Wilder, you know, and it kind of sucks because he's listening to his dad, I heard, and it's like, who, you know, that's your dad and all, but it's like, man, yeah, it's all about who has your best interest, you know, and then you need to get realistic, you know. It's like, how are you gonna go from 25 mil to 10 mil? It's like you should have realized that a long time ago, you know, and you shouldn't, you know, and you probably realize like, damn, I did press myself up. I need to go back and tell him I'll fight for 10, you know, and I don't think it works that way, you know. So
Well, here's the thing.
yeah.
Like you said that he's got to go and chase a bag. That's the wrong thing, actually. I don't think Andy should be chasing the bag. I think he should just be chasing activity. See, there's a lot of fighters that he can fight.
The next available bag.
Yeah, but check this out. He might not fight. Hell, call out Usyk. Tyson Fury's with Francis Ngannou. Fight Usyk. If you don't want to fight Usyk, right, just go down the list. Well, can't say Dylan White because he popped, and you can't fight Zhang or Joe Joyce because they're tied down. But go fight Philip Hrgovic. Go fight Derek Chisora, F.A. Ajagba. Go fight Joseph Parker. He's got to go fight those guys because if he's just only going for the money, see, you said something about his father. Look, I have no problem with his father looking out for his son and trying to secure him the biggest bag. I mean, you're worth what you negotiate. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna only shoot for the stars. Like, yeah, bro, I want 25 million to fight Wilder. Why not? Oh, is the money not realistic? Well, it's only realistic if we're talking about guaranteed, but I'm talking about like in totality. How much do you guys think the pay-per-view would sell between Wilder and Andy?
That'll sell, dude. That's
like 300 to $1 million, right?
Yeah, dude. That's man. Everyone's gonna want to watch that fight. You know, that's gonna sell. That's a big money fight. You know, like they'll get a lot of back end money on that. You know, because yeah, that's the green print. You know.
Yeah, so I think that fight does between 300K to $1 million, right? And I'm just being very like generous. Might even do much more than that, because it does bring a lot of intrigue to everybody.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I just need him to be active. Look, bro, just go fight Tony Yoka. Go fight Murat Gassiev. These guys are good fighters, and Murat Gassiev is really good. Go fight those guys. Go fight Fabio Wardley. Go fight Kuzmano, who knocked out the Polish fighter, that babyface kid.
Adam Kownacki?
Yeah, go fight those guys. Just be active. Get 2-3 fights in you, and then just continue to get that momentum. And fight as often as you can, and just go sell out these venues. Don't put it on pay-per-view. Just, hell, bro, sell some NFTs. Buy some sign gloves, meet me in person, do some meet and greets, do little things like that. Like you can get that back end money, make some shirts, pop out some dope ass merchandise, get a little bit of flow of income going. But you just want to be active and you want to win the hearts and minds of people like you did in the past.
Yeah, and it's crazy because his inactivity is crazy, bro. Like he has multiple periods of time where he's like out for over a year, I
don't even know when's the last time he fought.
The last time he fought was 2020 September of last year against Luis Ortiz.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
and then
that's a long ass time.
Yeah, and then before that was in 2021 in May. So that's 16 months right there prior to that.
Yeah, exactly. And those are some,
it's going to be over a year that he hasn't fought, pretty much. It's not September yet, but
that's the thing. He could have fought 3 times this year already. Again, he could have fought Kuzmano. He could have fought Adam Kownacki. But you're not going to find none of these things. You're fighting yourself too much. Like, you got a little taste of 10 million against Joshua, but don't expect that every single time. Like, this is what I think when it comes down to Andy. He should be the greatest story told in terms of modern day boxing. And not only that, he should be probably one of the most influential boxers right now, above Ryan Garcia, above Deontay Wilder, above Tyson Fury, above all these guys. Because
bro, let me tell you. So Luis Ortiz, or my bad. So he was on a roll in 2018. 2018. He fought twice at least. 2016 he fought 4 times. And then 2017, he didn't fight at all. So he's been having this inactivity since back then, But
here's the thing: like he's a heavyweight, so he don't have to cut weight. You just gotta fight, bro.
Yeah,
just fight. And if you gotta go fight some unknown, obscure names, don't go fight the Jalalovs in the world. You know what I mean? Don't go fight that guy. But look, you can build your own mega fight with Richard Torres. You know what I'm saying? Like, people would be interested in fighting that. I'm sure Top Rank won't give you Torres right now.
That's Norco versus Soco.
5 more fights. You know what I mean? And then you can get that. You just got to be active, bro. You got to be active. This happens to a lot of PBC fighters, but even it's happening to Golden. Oh, Zurdo. Go fight Zurdo. Fight him often against everybody. Badu Jack, Makabe. Like, just go fight as often as you can. Look at Virgil Ortiz. He had an amazing fight with Mean Machine where he got dropped and got back up and showed a lot of heart and resiliency, and then eventually knocked him out. But then, like, tries to fight Stanionis, broken rib. He starts like body breaking down and like, bro, nobody even knows if you exist or coming back. A lot of people are saying that you should retire for your health.
Mm-hmm.
People are saying go up to 60, not even 154. So same thing with Jamal. It's like, bro, like your guys' downfall is basically like you're a prisoner of your own mentality, of the way you go about perceiving things and how big you are. Going back to Larry's point is you got that Disneyland outlook in your life where like, oh, I made it here. And then like you get too big and you're Americanized and you start, Warp Speed was talking about the diet of the three sisters, right? Squash, maize, and beans. But if Andy Ruiz was eating just those three things, he would not be 250 pounds. He'd probably be $185. You see what I'm saying?
Unless, of course, he's eating a whole ton of it.
He's just
what he's eating. He's drinking cervezas, tecate, and fucking coagulating with a cold ass and eating warm ass tacos.
Yeah.
And fucking quesadillas. That's what the fuck he's actually doing.
Yeah.
If he was eating the three sisters, that motherfucker would probably be chiseled and be like, wow, look at me.
Yeah, no, but you know what? Okay, I'm not trying to diminish the diet of the fighting people of the nation state of Mexico. I'm not trying to say that. In abundance and without the required activity levels for the breakdown of such food stuff, then it'll lead to problems of health. But the thing is this, you don't typically see it because, for the most part, the Mexican people are very hardworking and active individuals. So it balances out. Yeah, I think that's where you come into that equation with your argument, the argument that you posit, which is that Andy Ruiz is doing everything but just eating. He's partaking in activities that do not promote a fighter's lifestyle. The imbibing of the alcoholic beverages, the hanging out with the beautiful dames, the hanging out with gentlemen of play.
Yeah, absolutely. But see, look at those three, that crop, that agriculture technology of the three sisters, that comes from the Native American side, right? The native roots of the Mexican. And they go through their cycles of how they go about planting their crops, the process of healing, right? So they use all those fertilizers of the leaves and all these things to cultivate and be able to continue to develop those vegetables and diet. Andy Ruiz, again, he's not eating that stuff. Again, if he were, he would be fucking lean fighting machine. But in reality, again, he's drinking those beers. He's partying all crazy. He's eating a shit ton of Snickers. Probably Snickers has a lot of protein. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But he's not living that fighter lifestyle on a consistent basis. You don't have to cut weight in the heavyweight division, but you do have to train. And he gained about like 20 pounds or more in the rematch versus Joshua. So he was paid off by Eddie Hearn, gain weight and not train. Nah, man. It's just, again, he won his Super Bowl, and it's very hard to repeat. It's a very difficult thing to do. Only the greats like Michael Jordan, like LeBron James are able to, and Steph Curry's and the Golden State Warriors, Tom Brady back-to-back with the Patriots. Those are amazing fighters that never settle. You see, Andy Ruiz settles. He tried to settle. Anthony Joshua is a guy that never settles also. He always wants more, right? Unfortunately, he came across Usyk, who was able to, another guy that strives for much more. Usyk also never settles. See, he's won gold. He's probably got paid handsomely, and lives like a king in the Ukraine. Been winning, became undisputed, won the Muhammad Ali, the World Boxing Super Series tournament, beat a lot of undefeated cats, right? He never settles. So there's everybody's special in terms of when they make it to that elite level. But then there's like.
But this is the thing, though. He's still
above that.
Andy Ruiz still struggles against Areola, and it's like, bro, why would you struggle against him, bro? You're supposed to like literally run this dude over,
Yeah, but recall one thing about that fight, right? That was the introduction of uh, the homie Ricky. That fight was the introduction of what? Fill in the blank, Andy Ruiz.
I don't know, fuck boy.
No, 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 no. I don't know if he's a fuckboy. I would never call him that either. But that was the introduction of Skinny.
Oh, a skinny Andy Ruiz. Yeah, I mean, it was. Yeah, he did lose a lot of weight, and he did sign up with Eddie Reynoso, and he became like not like body dysmorphia, but he was very conscientious of like, oh man, I gotta look like Joshua because he heard all that criticism. But again, that's what makes Andy loved. Is naturally like his chubbiness is kind of like the everyday man, the common man. It's like, bro, I got a chubby kid, and I'm chubby. My neighbor's chubby. Everybody's chubby. You see what I'm saying? That's what made people like Andy a lot. And his soft-spoken ways, his little risueño, I don't know how you say that word in English, but just like happy and joyful, little smile, and just like, man, just a big kid with my Snickers bar. That's why people loved Andy.
Like a Pillsbury Doughboy.
That part of reading the comments, being Americanized on the social media, living that life. Oh man, they're just talking about my body. That's what ruined Andy. Again, kind of like Rich Dad, Poor Dad book. We need poor Andy back, man. And it's not just that, it's that mentality, it's that decision making. It's about flipping and utilizing his naturalness, right? To overcome these obstacles. Again, he became too Americanized. Again, to your guys' point of Mexican versus Mexican American, or just American, or wanting to associate just with Mexican, like he did lose that. He did lose that humbleness, that warrior aspect of it, and he became strictly business. Like, oh, I wanna look this way. I want to come out on GQ magazine. I want to land these endorsement deals with Snickers, right? It was all business. It was all marketing. And he probably, honestly, heard that from, when he was probably drunk, and he's like, oh man, that's a good ass idea. I should probably like, hey, Snickers, like I've been eating this since I was a kid. But honestly, if you just follow through again and repeat that Super Bowl performance, that stuff will naturally come.
Yeah. So oh, sorry, Drew. You go ahead.
No, I was just gonna ask you guys. Does Andy Ruiz have the fastest hands in the heavyweight division? You guys think?
It's between him and Usyk in terms of combination punching for sure. Richard Torres maybe because of their short nature. But yeah, between those two, in terms of pop and speed and combination, I would give it to Andy over Usyk. But in terms of combination punching, yeah, I think just out of speed, Usyk. Usyk don't really have the heavy hands of Andy, but he got that speed over Andy though.
Yeah, and they have a little more pop on them because it's leverage.
But you see, that's who Andy should be. Like, I don't say he shouldn't fight Usyk after a year layoff, but he should fight like Jerome Miller. That'll sell. Again, Cusimano. Just get back into flow.
Jeremiah Milton, how did you do against him?
Jeremiah Milton?
You never heard of him? Oh, no, he's top ranked. Sorry. Yeah, he's top ranked.
He just fought recently, right?
Yeah, he just fought.
I mean, I'm saying like he can fight guys like even like Jermaine Franklin, but even Jermaine Franklin's pretty good. But again, he should fight guys just to get back into the grind, bro. In boxing, everybody wants a trophy, everybody wants the prize, but the really special ones appreciate the grind. You see, that's where a lot of fighters, when they try to retire from the sport, they have a hard time doing so, and they never retire on time or on their calling because that's all they know. It's embedded in them. They get that itch, and they get the itch for the grind to compete. But even though as their body starts to break down and to deteriorate, it starts to slow down their IQ, their awareness, the punch resistance and tolerance. It's very difficult when, you sleep in silk pajamas.
Yeah. So Andy Ruiz is it's a very interesting figure, right? Because there's so many ways to interpret what happened with his drive, his shortcomings, right? Because and he first epitomized for the casuals, the ones that really don't watch the sport religiously. He epitomized what is the puncher's chance, We know otherwise. We know that Andy Ruiz, if you've seen him in the fights coming up before the fight with Anthony Joshua, we knew that he was a very skilled, quick, powerful fighter. I think he has started his career with Top Rank. Maybe yeah, Top Rank. I believe. I think I may have seen him in ESPN fights when he was uh, bald headed and he was just chubbier. I don't think he had any kind of facial hair. He looked like a slimmer, more smiley version of Butterbean. But he epitomized the puncher's chance because a lot of people didn't really uh, give him any kind of odds in favor in a fight of Anthony Joshua's when they fought. So when he beat Anthony Joshua, he obviously became a symbol of the puncher's chance, of how, irrespective of how dedicated you are to the sport, if it's your night, it's your night. It's the same thing as playing the lottery, right? Or buying yourself a scratcher. You buy yourself a scratcher, and millions of people are buying themselves a scratcher, and you're the one that has the $1 million scratcher. So you scratch it and you won $1 million. It's the same thing. You were the fortunate one that got the shot. You maximized the opportunity. I mean, in fact, he was close to being stopped himself. He got dropped right before he ended up, changing the dynamic of that fight, the first fight. And then we now had what you called, for the Mexican or the any kind of Latino people, gordito. Now, if you know what a gordito means, gordito is a term of affection for somebody that's heavy set. So when you call a person that's heavy set a gordito, you are in a nice way.
It means fatso.
No, 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 no. Because
No?
it really is it really is a thing of
Of charm and trying to romanticize.
well, no, it's it although it's the same thing, right? A gordito is a nice way of saying you're heavy. You're basically saying you're chubby. Where if you call a fatso, you're saying gordo. You're gordo. You're a fatso. Gordito, you put the I and the T and the O at the end. It makes it more friendly and
And if
cute.
they say you're a pinche panzón, that means you're a fucking badass.
Exactly, a panzón is a fat ass and so forth. It's just the degree of the terms that you're using. So everybody fell in love with a gordito.
What's a
So
huevón?
yeah, so now who became a huevón? so he became the chubby guy that everybody loved, and then
But you
he
can
got
market to that. You see, you can tap into that audience and be like, yeah, man, I get this power from my fucking panza. I get this shit from my
Yeah.
stomach.
well, he
Yeah.
sort of did, right?
Healthy
He
blood.
sort of did when he
Healthy
said
blood
that.
is a shield for them body punches. You go low, I'll test you high. Like, bro, there's so many ways that you can catch certain things. And then, but keep going, my bad.
Yeah, no, but that's really sort of what he did, right? Because he rode with it and said that his favorite food was Snickers, and then all of a sudden that was like the joke of the day, was making the news, and at the Spanish news gossip channels after the telenovelas, that was exactly what everybody was talking about. The chubby, smiley, young fella who ate Snickers, and he overturned the sport. Now, after that first victory, we get millionaire Andy Ruiz, the guy who starts to live it up. Why? Because of the same thing that the homie Ricky was talking about when he first started this live. The arrogance, the poor man mentality, which he used to have, was no longer there, and now he changed as an individual at this core. His character, in particular, one where he was a man of humility, he's since then become a man of incorrigible bumptiousness, of an arrogance, grand, and compromising. So this is who he has become now, and we bring it up. We bring it up to the next topic, which the homie Ricky also mentioned, which is the abandonment of the people on your corner. The first of which was Manny Robles. He abandoned the man who was there through the thin and the thick of it, who made him the man that everybody fell in love with, and he abandoned that. In other words, he left all of the
Yo, Speed, you got cut off, brother.
that made the man who he was died the day he became a champion, and every action afterwards was a man that was a leaving his past, everything, and burning it, leaving no bridges that can be crossed, leaving his trainer, becoming a skinny man. His former life was something that he chose to abandon, and then he tried to attain. But now he's a man divided, a man that wants to have that hunger, like, and I'm not talking only physical, but literal and metaphorically. But he could never have that. Why? Because you cannot erase the fact that he did shock the world, that he did become the first, if I'm not mistaken, Mexican heavyweight champion in history. And now, knowing otherwise, that he's already burned bridges, that he already amassed wealth, that he doesn't have to come back to the sport. And again, there is a lot of potential fights for him out there. He could fight anybody. Kusamato, that could be a Mexican or Mexican American or whatever he wants to be. War against an up and coming Italian American, or maybe just purebred Italian. I mean, two people of the same denomination. They both practice Catholicism for the most part. So that could be one of those things. Very healthy fan bases right there. He could fight another Mexican American and Torres, from Tulare County.
That'd be across the street, huh?
Yeah, but you know what? The thing is this: he already has former associations with Top Rank, so maybe he just has to ring up Bob Arum and say, "Hey, Bob, what you got for me for the good old days, for the good times?" And anything is possible if a fighter wants it. I mean, we just witnessed it with Errol Spence taking on Terrence Crawford, even though they weren't on the same side of the street, because he wanted the fight. Even Terrence Crawford admitted that it was all Errol Spence creation that fight happened. So anything is possible if fighters want it. But do we think Andy Ruiz wants to fight a Cusamato, a Torres, a Richard Torres, or any up and comer, Zile Zhang, Joe Joyce? I don't know.
Yeah, man. I think he should be fighting for like a contention or some kind of belt. I mean, I think he can if he can be AJ the way he did, he's capable of doing it again. I mean, I'm not sure if he can beat someone like Zhang. That dude punches way hard, bro. Like that'll be his toughest punch to take to this day, Like Zhang is no joke, bro. And then, he obviously lost to I confuse these two guys. Did he lose to Joseph Parker, or did he lose
Nah,
to...
he had on paper he lost to Philip Hrgovic, but if you watch the fight,
No.
Zhang won that shit. So
No, I'm talking about Andy Ruiz. Did he lose to
yeah,
Parker?
he lost to Joseph Parker.
Yeah.
Again, but
Okay.
that fight was close. Should have probably been a draw.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
In fact, that's who he should rematch.
yeah.
It's
Yeah, that'd
like,
be a good one.
I know I'd like to see the Tulare kid, Richard
Mhm.
Torres, but again,
They should have a card.
like Joseph Parker.
They should put him in the undercard.
It's a good
Since him and Joe Joyce are from Australia, right? No, the one actually, I'm wrong.
I think Joe Joyce is from the UK, brother.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'll never forget when Andy won, bro. Like he started jumping like a little kid, bro. Like it was funny. His bonsai was all jumping up and down and shit. I was like,
bro.
it's funny. He jumped with both the legs like a little kid. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, it's like
But I'll
when
never
you
forget
first
that
get
moment,
your
bro.
first $20 bill. You're like, what? So your first $100 bill on
Yeah,
your birthday? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
That's exactly what that was. That was like,
yeah.
Well, look at it. It's right there in my image. Look at it. Isn't that Andy Ruiz hopping in the air with his chubby gut just everywhere?
I have
Yeah.
a default pick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No,
I have
I'll
a
never
default
forget
pick
that.
again.
Yeah, it's just great.
What are you talking? Oh my God! So you guys never seen Andy? There's supposed to be a chubby Andy Ruiz in the
Well,
air.
well, Chubby Chaser, nah, it's not there, man.
No, it's not
Oh
there.
man, I hate the internet.
But yeah, man, I'll never forget that. And yeah. Hopefully, Andy doesn't press himself out again, and he doesn't pull some BS, because he's getting a little too comfortable. I noticed he fought 3 times in 2019, so he was really on a mission, and he was really trying to get a shot at the belt up until once he got it, and once he got a couple checks, it looks like he kind of got comfortable, bro.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
that's the thing. It's like, he can't worry about the past now. If Wilder moved on, which I'm sure he did, that means you're also Joshua moved on. They're not going to fight you. So you can't worry about that now. It's about what you can do tomorrow. And what you can do tomorrow is you can ring up Joe Cuzamato. You should win that fight. Joe Cuz is only good for like 3 rounds. And then
Mhm.
he's heavy, he's tired, he starts gassing out after three, like in the first round, like in the third minute, he starts getting tired, getting close to like he can't finish rounds in the way he starts. He should
yeah,
fight him.
yeah,
Fight
you
him.
never
Maybe he'll
know.
fight Jermaine Franklin. Jermaine Franklin would be tough. That boy's got Andy Ruiz skill. He's got
Mhm.
Andy Ruiz hand speed, his IQ and footwork. It's like a mirror of one another. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? The only difference is Andy's got that pop. But that'd be a
But
good ass fight.
but there was a video of him saying like I'm pretty much him saying like I'm a new man, like because his chick and all that, and he's single or whatever. So I don't know, you might get a different Andy. It might be a more of a focused Andy, so you never know. Um, when you go through things like that, you usually improve or you get worse. I feel like because it's all mental, So hopefully he comes back stronger, So, but if he does, man, um, I don't see him, having any not because he has trouble with random people like Chris Arreola, So I mean, I think he's more of a styles mixed fight. You match him up good, and then he's gonna give that dude trouble. Um, but yeah, there's a certain style that he struggles against. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's a certain style that he struggles with because like I didn't think he struggled with Joe Joyce. I mean, Joseph Parker. I just thought Joseph Parker, the style that Andy does struggle with is the fighter that moves. Joseph Parker started using his legs. He wasn't that efficient at cutting off the ring.
I didn't
Got
watch that
tired of
fight.
few. You look at the Anthony Joshua rematch. Anthony Joshua started circling, using his reach. That's kind of like the struggle that Andy struggles with. That style that Chris Arreola showed, Andy shouldn't struggle with that.
Yeah.
Like Speed was saying, like that's when he lost like 15, 20 pounds. So
Mhm.
maybe he was weak. But the
Mhm.
reality is like when you lose weight, it shouldn't. I mean, yeah, when you do lose weight, it does make you weak. But in the case of Andy or heavyweights, it should make you fast or faster. It shouldn't
Yeah.
make you like lose punch resistance because it's not like he lost 30 to 40 pounds. He probably lost like 10 pounds.
Yeah.
10 pounds is not, I don't know about the first punch, but I think he got kind of hit like the ear behind the head area
Of who?
and the Chris Arreola knockdown.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it looked legal when I was watching it. I was like, "Oh shit, you got him!" It looked like he got him clean, you know.
Yeah, you might be right. I mean, I gotta let me see.
But I don't know. It was kind of weird the way he was struggling against him. But you're right. He lost weight. He changed it up, and I think he should have just did what he was doing before and shouldn't have changed anything up, because I think he got a little self-conscious about that, about his fatness or whatever, about his stomach. I mean, and probably got to him. He said, "I need to lose weight. I need to look better at the scale at least, or something, And yeah, he should have just kept the weight, man. Because sometimes it sounds kind of stupid, man, but it's like he needs to keep the weight so he has the energy. Keep the energy, and I feel like it makes him more durable. Uh, Pretty much more blood flowing through his body. So I don't know. He needs to stick to the game plan, and you know, I think he'll become a world champ one day. Because once he actually gets people in trouble, like once he sees that they're hurt, yeah, I like the relentlessness he has. He just doesn't stop, kind of like the AJ fight. Once you see him, he was hurt.
Hey, fellas, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, yep, loud and clear. But yeah, man,
Yeah, I'm not too sure if you guys can
he
hear
started
me.
attacking. He started attacking
Yeah, we
AJ.
can hear you, bro.
Yeah, he started like once he got him hurt, he started attacking him and he got him out. That's what I like about Andy. You know, mm, he went out. But yeah, man, that's what I like about Andy. That's what's kind of different about him. And yeah, he gives a lot of people trouble. Hopefully, he becomes world champ, and hopefully, he doesn't get comfortable. Because all that money's getting to his head, probably. Uh, you just kind of seeing his last video. He's talking like he's cocky a little bit, which is good. So I just hope he kind of puts his money where his mouth is. And kind of proves it.
Yeah, like honestly, I don't even care if Andy becomes a champion or not. Like, being a champion is not just a metric for success.
What do you want from him?
Just be active, get back in flow, shake off the cobwebs, shake off everything that you've endured or going through with your wife and your stability at home.
He
Go
divorced.
just fight, bro.
Single.
In his deepest core, he's a fucking heavy boxer. So just do that. You're not you won't be a GQ model. You won't be these things that he entices or wants. Just like, bro, just be a fighter at heart. Just go back to the humbleness and just grind it out. Grind it out. And that money and the opportunity will come if you just go back to winning. Just win, bro. Like, that's just what it is. Like, don't chase the big dogs right now. Like, you're not in the mental state right now of everything that you've gone through.
Yeah, he really just beat like one world champion, right? I mean, that's it. And
well, I mean, he beat two. He beat Joseph Parker, in my opinion, but he should have been a WBO champ that day. But Joseph Parker was fighting at home and got a hometown decision. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I mean, he still got to climb or prove it to us, because I mean, he puts a lot on the table as far as like fan attendance and all that because he's Mexican, but I mean, he's got to build that resume again, back up. I mean, he has a good resume. I mean, he has to build the momentum again. And kind of, yeah, like you're right. He needs to get active again, build momentum, and start building some kind of highlight reel to get that paycheck. If that he wants that paycheck, he needs to be active. And some fighters do it for money. Some people do it for, for the glory, I guess. And Andy's a type for the money, but that's all right. But it's like, man,
well, I mean,
you gotta start getting
at this point, everybody's doing it for the money because most of these guys that are at the top, they've been fighting for free their whole life in the amateurs. They've had to cut weight for free, right? Just to chase the dream of gold. So all I gotta say is, like, for Andy, is just go back to being active, bro. Like, you can't stress this enough. There's many fighters, and this is what I've always said about the heavyweight division. There's a lot of popular names, right? There's a lot of popular names, but no one's really fighting one another. Like, sure, Wilder has like 40 fights, but about only like 3 of them are like really good. King Kong Ortiz, Tyson Fury, and I mean, I think that's pretty much about it, right? And if you look at Andy Ruiz, it's just Anthony Joshua and King Kong Ortiz. Yeah, sir, Dimitrenko is really good. Joseph Parker, and Joseph Parker. If you look at Tyson Fury, he's just got Wilder and Otto Wallin and Klitschko. Right? Like, a lot of these guys, like, where's your Jared Anderson? Where's all these other fighters? And it's not really that. See, Anthony Joshua, he's got a lot of the top tier heavyweights on his resume. He's got Klitschko, he's got Usyk, he's got Joseph Parker, he's got Dylan White. I never thought highly of Dylan White, but somehow he's still in the top 10. His is much more diverse, right? He's got Carlos Takam, he's got these good little fighters. Anthony Joshua has a really good resume in terms of fighting the top 10. Andy Ruiz only has like maybe 3, 4 good names. You know,
Mhm.
Wilder and Fury also had like 3, 4 good names. Like out of all the talent, like even if they get beat, still go fight them. Right? Like none of those guys have a Povetkin, only Joshua and Dylan White. Right? Like Andy, go fight Kurat Pulev. Like Pulev was still pretty good. You saw he was durable against Joshua. Hell, go fight Carlos Takam. You see Takam beat Tony Yoka. I believe so, if I'm not mistaken. And you also seen him give Joshua a pretty good fight. And then
Didn't he beat? Didn't he beat Bodu Jack?
Who?
Oh no, didn't he just lose to Bodu Jack?
Badu Jack? Nah. Who you talking about?
The guy you're just talking about, Carlos Takam.
Nah, Badu Jack in a heavyweight.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's cruiser.
Badu Jack beat Makabe, and
Makabe, yeah, there we go.
Martin Bacoli beat Tony Yoka.
Makabu.
Makabu.
Yeah.
No, bro.
So
when Canelo's calling you out, you're a cruiserweight at 200 something pounds, bro. You gotta take that as disrespect, bro. Like,
yeah. So I think you guys started to. You guys are definitely on this matter, but allow me to ask you, gentlemen. Does Andy Ruiz, does he bring anything to the sport currently? Does the sport need him? In other words,
People need some, but not if you're asking for 25 million. If you're asking
well,
for 24
in
million,
general,
people don't need you because
in
the sport
general,
don't need another businessman. They need fighters.
yeah.
You see
In
what I'm saying?
general, I guess what I'm trying to say is right after Anthony Joshua beat Andy Ruiz and just did what he should have done in the first fight, which is just outbox him. In fact, that's a very divisive way of putting it, right? Because who wants to watch a heavyweight box?
Exactly.
You right?
Nobody wants to watch what he did in Anthony Joshua versus Ruiz too. Like, bro, you're 250 pounds chiseled with muscle, and you want to outbox and fight like a featherweight? What the fuck is
Yeah.
wrong with you? Knock him out.
But here's the thing, though.
Knock him out.
Here's the thing, though.
Nobody want to see that shit. Nobody wants to see Tyson Fury versus Klitschko 1-2 hug and lean on him. Like,
Yeah, no. But look who's outboxing everybody. Look who's outboxing everybody, and then naturally just doing his job as a heavyweight. Alexander Usyk is combining both. He's boxing excellently. He's using his natural abilities as a pure boxer to outclass these guys, but he's also understanding his obligation as a heavyweight, which is to bring the action and stop them, right? So he's really, for the most part, excelling and getting better and better in the sport, and now he's starting to stop people. Now, Andy Ruiz, right? We have a couple of fights that we can look at and say, okay, what do we think about this Andy Ruiz? What do we think about chubby Andy Ruiz against Luis Ortiz? What do we think about skinny Andy Ruiz versus Chris Arreola? And I want to ask you, did you guys enjoy Andy Ruiz in those fights?
Well, before I answer that question, you said first that does Andy Ruiz bring value to the sport? Again,
Yeah.
the simple question is absolutely, but not if he's thinking like a businessman, right? We need fighters. We fell in love with the Andy that comes to fight. To your point with Alexander Usyk, again, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but the fighters that he was fighting at cruiserweight are much more talented than the heavyweights that he's fighting. Like, we got to go back to who he was fighting at cruiserweight. He was fighting Brady's. That Russian dude is fucking great. Like, he's really good. I know he got beat by Opetaia from Australia. He's fucking talented as hell. Go look at Murat Gassiev, Dorticos, all these guys that Usyk had to beat in the World Boxing Super Series tournament are much more talented and skilled and faster and have pop and still have to cut weight than Derek Chisora, then Tony Bellew, then Anthony Joshua. Those three guys, in comparison, skill for skill, those heavyweights are garbage. In regards to Dorticos, Murat Gassiev, and Brady's, who used to had to beat to become undisputed down there. The heavyweight division is much less. It's less talented than down there. That's why Usyk couldn't knock those guys out. And when he's moving up from here, he's able to. Because again, I mean, not for nothing, but the guy that just fought Dubois, he's not that good. He's just big ass hell. Anthony Joshua, when you look at his skills, very rudimentary. He's very robotic. Not that good, but he can knock you out. He's got fucking, Thor hammer in his fucking fists. Same thing with Derek Chisora. He's not necessarily a knockout artist, but he's a big ass dude. Tony Bellew, I mean, bro, he's only known for beating David Haye. Like, so again, Usyk is able to beat those guys because they're not talented than the guys that he had to go face at cruiserweight. Like, if you go watch Usyk versus Brady's, that was almost a draw. And if I'm not mistaken, the judges, it was basically 7-5. Like, on all three of the scorecards, it could have gone either way. It might have been a split decision. I'm not exactly too sure. I have to check it out. But I remember seeing that fight, and it was tough.
Yeah, but the thing is this: it's hard to really compare any weight class to the heavies, because when we think of heavyweight boxing, again, we think of violence and knockouts. We don't think skill set, right? So it's a fallacy to try and compare somebody who's making weight, which requires a different type of dedication to the sport, than a heavyweight, because you're not trying to attain skills in a heavyweight. You're trying to attain power. You're trying to attain an ability to take a punch, to give a punch. You're trying to find small little maneuvers that you set your power into place. So it's fallacious, not fellatio, but very faulty to try to compare a cruiserweight, light heavyweight or anything to a heavyweight, because we're not trying to look at heavyweights as skillful men, just powerful and violent men. So I don't think,
which is why
so.
Usyk brought the skills to the heavyweight division, because the heavyweights only rely on, I always have a puncher's chance. Like, look at Daniel Dubois.
And it's always been that way, though.
He's got terrible defense, right? And he doesn't have chin. Look, when you are forced to make a certain weight division, it takes a lot of discipline. It takes mental strength to really suck yourself out and cut an extreme amount of water weight and calories and discipline yourself on the dinner table. When you're a heavyweight, you absolve yourself essentially from all that noise, and you're just like, yeah, let me just throw punches. In fact, most heavyweights tend to not have that great work ethic, which is why when you see Robert Garcia and all these guys, like, man, Anthony Joshua has that work ethic of these other guys. Now he's training and weightlifting, but that's why his body is proportioned the way he is in regards to the Martin Bacolis of the world, the Andy Ruiz's of the world, the Tyson Furies of the world, that don't rely on necessarily the food intake and the other discipline that the skillful fighters, the little fighters, have to rely upon. You see? So Usyk brought the skills to the heavyweight division, and guess what? He has that pop.
What do you guys?
When you fucking don't have that defensive skill to evade these combinations, like a smaller guy, guess what? I'm gonna test that chin, and what happens when I'm test that chin? You gonna fucking hit the deck.
Yeah,
that's why are coming, because of skill.
Ricky. So the Giants are pitching a no-hitter right now, just to let you know. But they're pitching a no-hitter right now. Anyways,
what do you mean? Anyways,
so back to boxing, because I know that's what Ricky likes, he likes the Giants, but they're pitching a no-hitter right now.
So then let me ask you, Drew, the same question. When you saw Andy Ruiz fight, Chris Arreola and Luis Ortiz, King Kong Jr., were you entertained? Do you want to see more of those kind of fights? Very hard fought, close fights where anything is possible. One guy hurts the other, and you get to see a less dominant version of Andy Ruiz. Can you live with the less dominant Andy Ruiz, as long as you get to see the kind of fights that he's been providing lately?
Yeah, so I don't know. I think Andy is entertaining when he gets into these like scraps, like when he punches, like when he's like in these wars, because he always ends up winning these in the box, when he back boxes it, like when he's in the box and he isn't fighting from the outside, like that's when he's really good because he actually has shorter, he has more leverage and he has those short hooks, you know. And I think when his opponent engages in those, that's when it gets really entertaining. I think Luis Ortiz was kind of running right, like I think I was at work, so I wasn't able to watch it, but I think I was listening to this live chat, and they were saying it was pretty boring. The Luis Ortiz fight against Andy. So I mean, in that case, I wouldn't want to watch that type of fight. But I think fights like Deontay Wilder, I think I can just see it right now. I could see Andy just putting Deontay Wilder out, you know, in those short exchanges, you know. Um, but you never know. I mean, obviously Wilder is gonna knock him out if they fight, you know. But um, when Deontay was in trouble against Luis Ortiz, man, I swear to you, man, he could have put him out. I was like, come on, Luis, fuck, it was so hard to watch because he almost put him out. Um, but I think Andy completes that job. You know, I think he's capable of completing that job. But that's when he's entertaining. That AJ fight, the first one, man, was just legendary. You know, because I think I forget which round it was. I mean, we all know what happened. He gets knocked down and then comes back with a vengeance. When he's in trouble, he steps it up. And yeah, man, he is entertaining. He just gotta want it, I guess. You know, because when he wants it, that's when he goes all out. You know, so I'm not sure what happened in the Luis Ortiz fight, but
Well,
uh,
nah. In the Luis Ortiz fight, it wasn't boring. Andy was catching him and dropping him. So
was
when
he?
Luis brought the fight to him, Ruiz was catching him and dropping him.
Mm.
King Kong
So it was
Ortiz decided to
one-sided.
kind of like keep it rangy, and that's
Mm.
where Andy fought. Had a trouble again. Luis started to use his legs and circle around and use his arm length and height. That
Mm.
troubles Andy again. It troubled him in the Joshua 2. It troubled him in the Joseph Parker fight. So he has trouble, obviously, since he's undersized. And when these bigger, taller Ranger men are able to use that coupled with the pop, he was rocking
Mhm.
the shit at times. And yeah,
Mhm.
he had to make it boring because when he wanted the exchange, boom, and he punches with you and he was
Mhm.
dropping his ass. So
Yeah,
I
for
wouldn't
sure.
really say it was boring. It was, just, that's the type of style that you
Yeah.
find with a short fighter like Errol Spence. When he fought Mikey Garcia, Mikey had a difficult time, right, cutting off the ring because Errol really didn't come to fight. He came
Mhm.
to like showcase my skills, use my height and arm length, and beat you from the outside. And then when it became really one-sided and Mikey became tamed, then Errol was really putting on the heat. I think it was like the 10th or 11th round, and Robert was like, "Bro, if you don't show me nothing, I'm going to stop the fight." But to that point, like really, Errol didn't really come to fight in the first 8 rounds. You know what I'm saying? It was just boxing and beating you from the outside.
But yeah, from that AJ fight was pretty entertaining though, you know, and AJ was a bigger man, way bigger man, you know. So it's just the styles, you know, like with Luis Ortiz and Andy. I mean, when they fought, I mean, you're right. I forgot he was like dropping them, but with the AJ fight, I mean, they're going back and forth, you know. Um, and it's something about the him boxing the bigger man. They have to like give up their leverage, you know. They give up their height to reach Andy, you know. So that's why I kind of like Andy's like stature. I like his, he can shock the world, you know. Again, I feel like, if he fights like one of the top dogs, because he
Yeah,
just do
that's
it,
why
bro.
people love Pacquiao, and that's why people love Canelo
Hmm.
because they are the shorter man and they're able to beat these big ass dudes.
Hmm.
Oh, bro, that no hitter went away.
Damn.
It was ninth inning, 2 outs, and this guy just hit a double, and
Wow.
yeah, just barely went over the glove of the right fielder, hit in between, what they call Triples Alley in San Francisco at the AT&T Stadium. And yeah, now it's 6-1. Not the San Francisco Giants are winning comfortably, but Alex Cobb, the pitcher, that was on the cusp of throwing a no-hitter. He probably going to get dismissed as he's over the pitch count. Maybe they'll let him finish off the game. Looks like he's staying in, but yeah, the no-hitter,
Damn, son.
tonight.
I'd put a bet down right now before the game on a no hitter. No, I'm
Oh
playing.
yeah, it ain't happening, bro.
I'm just playing.
It was
So
close.
so just to confirm, you guys are you gentlemen are fans of Andy Ruiz Jr., right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the rest of the world except his wife.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of the underdog. So if he did not epitomize the puncher's chance, which is the one thing that allows any person from out the street to walk into any gym and dream of one day doing something as a fighter. If he doesn't epitomize that, he definitely epitomized the underdog at once, and he proved himself a champion from that that otherwise odds set against him situation. So yeah, I am a fan of Andy Ruiz. Probably will always. I just wish that he was a bit more active. I just wish he fought anybody. I don't need to see him fight Wilder. I in fact want to see Deontay Wilder fight Anthony Joshua. I do want to see Alexander Usyk fight Tyson Luke Fury. I was about to call him Tyson Fury. Luke Fury. Um, Andy Ruiz can fight mm, Joe Joyce. He can fight maybe not Derek Chisora, because Derek Chisora probably already has like 13 fights, 5 out of the last 7. I think maybe somebody like Dylan White would be a good explosive fight.
Nah, he's
Um,
dirty. He's a drug
huh?
cheat.
But he's still fighting that though. So as far as him being, and in reality, look, every day you seem to discover positive ped usage on the next fighter. The next fighter, and then the next week after this would be another fighter. So for the most part, it's almost turning out to be that almost everybody seems to be on some kind of stimulant or a performance enhancer. So I don't think fighters really care that much. In fact, Andy Ruiz, if I'm not mistaken, he's a cannabis smoker, and in some, if
Now,
I'm not mistaken,
marijuana is a depressant. It's
it doesn't
violent.
matter. It's an intoxicant, right?
Listen,
Depending on what region of the world he might fight in, that might be considered a performance enhancer. It might be whether it's as a stimulant, and it's not a depressant necessarily. Just depends on what kind of strand you smoke. I mean, if you smoke something indica, yeah, it might put you in a more depressed, relaxed mood. If you smoke something more of a sativa or a high potency THC sativa, then that's definitely going to be a stimulant, the equivalent of, like, let's say, a cup of coffee or two. But depending on where he fights, that might just be something that just does not, pass muster. So it just means that most people are on something, and we don't know Andy Ruiz's drug of choice.
all right, so I'm gonna correct you on a few things. Andy doesn't embody the puncher's chance, because
No, I said the underdog.
that's Deontay Wilder. Okay,
Yes,
Deontay
yes, yes,
Wilder,
yes.
he's the embodiment of a puncher's chance,
Yeah.
because if he connects one punch, that's all he wins. He can be getting his ass beat by Artur Spilka, but he throws one fucking uppercut and then he just beats him. Right?
Uh-huh.
Same thing with King Kong Ortiz. Same thing with Robert Helenius. Get your ass beat the whole fucking round. Boom, lights out.
Yes, sir.
Andy Ruiz embodies and is a definition of the outlier. He's a definition of the underdog,
Yeah, the underdog for sure.
the underdog tail, because he's undersized for the prototypical heavyweight division. Same thing with Mike Tyson. But these guys have skill, they have intellect, enhanced speed, and combination punching that you normally don't see, coupled with the heart and the fucking punch resistance as well. So yeah, not a puncher's chance. But as for whether these athletes or these boxers care whether they're taking drugs, well, I'm pretty sure if they don't care, they wouldn't be paying $30,000 to do testing. I mean,
But the thing is
a
this,
million
okay?
dollars
Robert Helenius,
there, bro.
uh, Robert Helenius was the last fighter just a couple of days ago discovered to have been under some kind of performance enhancing drug. Okay, he lost that fight. Um, so a ped is
Well,
not.
we can't answer that question. They should ask and interview Eddie Hearn, but not even the promoter, because obviously Eddie Hearn knew he's privy to these fucking details, which is why he tried to hide the whole Connor Ben situation with Chris Eubank. He knows this information, so he doesn't fucking care because all he cares is about the Benjamin. They should ask and interview Anthony Joshua. Hey, bro, do you care that Robert Helenius was on top on a stimulant and he busted your nose, and do you care that he failed the drug test on you? That's what they
Yeah,
have
but
to ask.
what I'm trying to say, whether he cares or not, what I'm trying to say is that peds did not help Robert Helenius win a fight. You
But
see
it
what I'm
helped him
saying?
go 7 rounds.
No, no, it was the fighting style that helped him go 7 rounds. So what I'm saying is this: depending on what it is that you're using drugs for, you might win or you might lose. But the drugs ain't gonna get you. You don't just take a drug and then you win a fight. It's not that easy. It's the work you put in. Maybe it'll help you with recovery. Maybe some drugs will help you with losing weight or otherwise. In the heavyweight division, you don't really have to worry about that. Um, but it's not gonna win you the fight. You don't just take a little gummy of some kind of anabolic, and next thing you know, you're pardon the language, king shit. That's not the way that's not the way these things work.
Right,
It's
no, but
just
out of respect for competing and training top tier athletes that are already good, great, and they have the drive and the intelligence and the IQ and the experience, and then you add drugs to the mix, yeah, there's gonna be a big separation of power from there. So yeah, I understand what you're saying. Oh, you don't just take a gummy and then you just fucking Superman overnight. No, but if you've been training and doing your proper work, coupled with research and putting in the grind, yeah, there's gonna be a big fucking difference. So
I just want to know, like,
you're
I
trying to
want to know which kind of
guys, we don't really care. We just want to see the best fight the best. I don't know.
yeah. Yeah, but I wonder which ones are the fighters out there, getting outraged by the discoveries that some fighters are on drugs. Who's out there making a big ballyhoo about it? I don't see anybody really making a ballyhoo about it. I think it's just, they're moving on. People stay mum about things. Why? Because they're probably the next one to get caught.
Well,
You know,
that's up to the boxing federations and the commissions and the sanctioning bodies. They're the ones that have to impose certain regulations and sanctions and fees, fines, and discipline. A fan can bring out outrage and they can bring concerns and email and send letters to these establishments, but it's their own accord that they'll be like, are we going to allow it or not? So at the end of the day, like this,
I understand,
what we do or say, they don't care.
but it's in it speak volumes the fact that they don't pursue that kind of chastisement and punishment for these fighters. It's in it doesn't it speak volumes that they don't start implementing stricter uh, regulations and consequences for
All
these
they care
fighters.
about is their vacation, their yacht,
Exactly.
okay? That's all they care about. Is all
And
they
exactly,
care about
but
the money.
probably because they know a lot of people are on it. I mean, shit. There's ways to test people for pets and catch them. You know how you go about doing it? Test every 2 months, an obligatory 2 month drug test.
But
But
again, going back to the Benjamins, the money that cost a lot of money.
that's what I'm trying to tell you. It's
So it always
no one
comes
is
down to
interested
the
in these
money.
things. No one is interested. Not in the fighters, not the commissions, not the promoters. No one, except the only ones that do care, it seems, for the most part, until they forget, is the fan base.
No, I just think the ones that care about it are the rich ones that can afford it. For instance, let's say I'm an up and coming boxer, right? And I'm 2-0, and I'm fighting, let's say, another up and coming boxer, but he's got great amateur experience. He's Robeisy Ramirez. And let's say I'm that Mexican dude that knocks out Robeisy Ramirez, but I look the part, but I have like 10 amateur fights, let's just say, right? And I knock him out, but I'm on juice. No one's going to test me. What they're going to do is they're going to rematch me. Now, that's scenario A. Scenario B, I'm 20-0. I'm Oscar Valdez, and I'm fighting Shakur Stevenson, who's also 20-0, right? Now we're rich. We're rich at this time. Now we're paying, and then I pop dirty. That's when you get tested. They don't test you in the early stages. I bring this because, see, in other sports like football and basketball, they're allowed because there's only one commission that oversees everything. There's a governmental body, essentially. They have oversight and they impose. And to your point, they have money coming in on a consistent basis, on a schedule. Boxing is very irregular from all these other systematic sports where they have a timing, right? Boxing is tomorrow you can go pro and you can be on juice right now. You can get your fighters registered hands and your license, your boxing license, and be a professional. You can be on the juice right now. No one's going to know about you until you get some TV exposure. In the NFL, they start doing it in college and they start doing it in the professional game. Boxing, they don't have that liberty. They can't do it, right? Because there's millions of fighters and millions that they've never heard of. They only start testing once you become in the top 50, top 30, or, you know, whenever you get the opportunity for a big fight. So that's when the testing really happens, because that's when they start acknowledging that this is important, and this is when we got to impose it to be clean. And that's where the outcry comes, because again, if I'm a 2-0 fighter, a prospect, right, that with no amateur experience, right, maybe one YouTube video when I was like a kid, right, and I'm on drugs and I beat Robeisy Ramirez, who's a 2-time gold medalist, no one's gonna know. They're just gonna be like, Robeisy's you know, just a 3-round fighter. He's just always that Cuban. Right, but again, if take that same idea, if we're both 20-0 and I pop dirty and I'm somewhat of a name, yeah, people start to care. They're not gonna care if you're up and coming and a nobody.
Yeah. So, gentlemen, you know, the one thing that I like about these lives, right, the most, is trying to I don't know, try and get something practical out of these things. Like, for example, okay, you know, a couple of days or weeks ago, we were talking about how Alicia, or Annabelicia Baumgartner tested positive for some kind of. Okay, I'm sorry, I forgot, Mr. Baumgartner. I apologize for speaking foul about your lady.
It's her name that's changing. Her last name is changing. But
Yeah, no, I apologize. I did not want to speak foul about your lady like that. But we were discussing, you know, how at the end of the day, regardless of what we think about the results of her, you know, still disputed pet use, the one thing that no one is ever gonna take away from her is, one, her accomplishments. They could strip her of her belts, right? But she's already accomplished undisputed. She's gotten a lot of good names under her repertoire. But the one thing that nobody will ever take away from her is her money. Now, if I was an outsider, if I was I was an extraterrestrial from the Alpha Centauri, you know, region, and I come over here and I start observing these humanoids and their involvement in this sport called boxing, which doesn't make sense, by the way, because there's no boxes anywhere in this sport, except perhaps the box shaped ring that they're fighting in. But nonetheless, I'm watching these people fight, trying to slaughter themselves with pillows to protect not the opponent's face, but to protect their knuckles. Now, I find out that the more triumphant ones, the ones that are more accomplished, have always been questioned about their probable drug usage. And we're talking about men the likes of Luke Fury, Saul Santos Alvarez Barragan, better known as Canelo Alvarez, We have
Yo, get to the point, man.
long story short, if I wanted to take anything from it as an extraterrestrial, I would say, hey, the best way to become victorious in this human activity is to take drugs because you'll amass wealth. And on the path towards amassing wealth, things will just get much easier for you, and you'll develop a fanatic base of people that'll pay big money to see you and cheer you on. And once it's discovered that you're using this illegal substance, some people will cry foul, but not the ones that love you. And even if everybody cries foul, guess what? You have wealth. If that was the case, I would say, you know what? It sounds like a scoundrel thing to do, but everybody should start using drugs now.
Right. That's a very corruptible way to corrupt every single person that has an innocent dream.
It's a
Like,
corruptible sport.
yeah, the juice is worth the squeeze in terms of that dark of a picture of a world that you're painting. But on the contrary, if you do have people that give a fuck, that's unethical. So there should be fees. There should be fines. Not only should I strip you of your belt, I'm going to erase your history. I'm going to expel you from the sport. In fact, because this is a sport where you can kill a person and give them severe brain damage, you should also go to jail. Because not only are you a registered hitman, right? Now you're on some fucking juice where you're essentially using your brass knuckles. So again, if you want to be like, oh yeah, the juice is worth the squeeze, yo, take this juice so you can, okay, let me incarcerate you. If you get caught taking steroids, because essentially you can kill a human being. So if you want to go that extreme, I can counter that and be this extreme as well.
But the fact, but you're still not, you're arguing my point though. The fact that none of those things happen just proves the fact that this is a corruptible sport, and only the corrupt come out victorious. It's the equivalent of politics. Politics is corruptible. Politics is horrendous. It's unethical, and they'll employ every tactic employ to make sure that they win, irrespective of who they harm, irrespective of what hearts they break, because what matters is the victory. This is the same old thing as any other politic out there. This is a corruptible activity, and you've just proven the fact that none of those actions, none of those consequences take effect. You're just proving the fact that it is a corruptible sport, and to expect otherwise, it does not mean anything besides a moral victory only expressed through words. You may be outraged, but your outrage means nothing.
Barry Bonds, right? He's the home run king in baseball. He has 762. He broke Hank Aaron's record. I have the newspaper of the Chronicle framed up in my room and in the hallway, right? He's not in the Hall of Fame, but he still has his millions of dollars. He's still on the record book. Okay, so he's not gonna go to jail. But guess what? That person that went to oath, his nutritionist and the person who was supplying Miguel Tejada, Sammy Sosa, Alex Rodriguez, or all these people, that guy did go incarcerated. So there's a precedent where people that either have to, that's what should happen to Elysium Bumgarner and Tyson Fury and all these people. You fail the drug test, go to court and trial. And whoever lies under oath, guess what? You serve your jail sentence.
Yeah, but yeah, again, it's just a fantastical.
It's just unethical. Again, when it comes down to the relationship of boxing, you're a trained hitman, right? Your knuckles, if you're at the top level, can essentially kill a man. You can put him in a coma. Now you're trying to enhance that with performance enhancers. Guess what? If you're trying to do that, that is a criminal act. You're committing a crime. There's where you should serve a sentence.
Yeah, so there again, I don't want it to be misconstrued.
As long as it can possibly be.
Yeah.
We can talk about.
I don't want it. I don't want it to be I don't want my words to be misconstrued because I'm not advocating. I'm not advocating for these things. I'm just trying to tell you, as an external observer, this is what a person, this observer, would conclude, right? And the fact that none of these things happen, it's just really you delving into the fantastical and the ideal, and
No,
that
no, that should
is
be the
not
proper
happening.
way. It's ideal to you. It should be the proper way. Check this out.
No, the funny thing is though, you just mentioned the ped the ped era of the steroid era of
Baseball.
baseball, and guess what? A lot of people say that that was the greatest uh, baseball they'd ever seen.
Yeah.
And now without it, guess what? A lot of people say that it's that baseball is a dying sport. I disagree. I think it's
No,
an
it's
amazing
better
sport.
the pastime. But what I will say to this is the difference from both sports is one's not a combat sport. Baseball, the only part that is very physical is ball meets bat and the catcher position. And as they've eliminated the collusions, the crashing and the tackling of the catcher and the base runner from third to home plate, sliding dirty and try to cuff and break up the double plays. They've essentially eliminated off that game, right? The steroid era, no one's really getting hurt. Just records are being broken. Money and statistics are being manipulated to get you into the Hall of Fame, right? Boxing, I'm fucking caving your head in, bro. I'm denting you. I can chip your teeth. I can break your nostril, your cartilage. I can break your orbital bones. This is the different level of a criminal act. So whether you're trying to, oh, I'm not trying to advocate for it, no, but you're justifying the fuckery.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Oh, just because I actually phrase it in a
Maybe
way
you're
to throw it
supposed
in the
to,
face,
but
just because I phrase it in a way to throw it in the face of the fanatic, doesn't mean that I'm advocating for it or promoting the fuckery. In fact, all I'm doing is just saying what everybody else should be saying,
all
which
I'm
for whatever reason or another, no one really else is saying.
all I'm
Everybody
saying
just
is
seems
this.
to be dancing around the issue, and they're afraid to really describe and phrase the situation in harsh terms. Because if that's the way that you feel, the homie Ricky, I'm gonna tell you the truth. This is not the sport for you, buddy. This is
Well,
not
Yeah.
the
I don't
sport
think
for
it's
you.
a sport for you because let me tell you this: if they find Alicia to be guilty
It's not
and
the
she's
sport for
not
you.
able to defend herself, right, with the facts and the truth, right? And the truth is, and right now she's dirty. And once they do the due diligence and the research and the tracing of everything that was consumed by her, right, inadvertently, accidentally, or through some contamination, whatever the process is, right? If they only suspend her 6 months, if she is found guilty,
No, she is apparently.
that's a slap in the wrist.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. Again, the same thing that you're proving my point, but continue.
so it should be much harsher if she is.
Wait. It should be. Shoulda,
Right
coulda,
now, it's
woulda.
just collateral damage where it's just okay. This is just your moment right now, and we got to gather all the evidence. It's gonna take a while.
Listen,
So,
Shoulda,
like I'm saying, in boxing,
coulda, woulda.
Fury retired from the sport for 2 years, right? Because had he stayed, UCAD and the British Boxing Board, they were on his ass. Okay, they were on his ass for a lot of reasons. One, he was speaking his truth. He was going on about the not the demagoguery, but he was going on about um he was preaching religion and outcasting a lot of like, you know what, I don't really care. But the reality is he wasted 2 years out of the Klitschko era, right? After beating Klitschko, he didn't rematch him. He gained a lot of weight and he lost a lot of momentum. And he basically did his time, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Canelo Alvarez got lambasted, criticized, I got stripped of a belt, I believe, eventually fought Triple G after a year. The reality is they do a little bit of their time. Tete, is expelled for 4 years. So when he comes back, he's going to be like 38 or so. Look, all I'm saying is this. Right now, Alicia just got to do her time, right? And then just not be acquitted, but just, get absolved and speak the truth. And
What
go
if she
forward
can't?
with all these things. Or
She'll
maybe,
What
be
if she
alright.
can't?
but
She'll
if
be
you're
alright.
innocent, then you have nothing to hide.
What if she ain't?
She'll be all right.
Then that's why you don't speak, and you leave it up to the lawyers.
Hmm.
Like at the end of the day, it's like if you
She's
have an
not just
alibi and you have the tracing and be like, no, but if she's guilty, silence says a lot of things. There's a lot of there's But look, man, at the end of the day, this is just boxing talk. It's
Yeah.
maybe not
So
that serious, but look, guys, I think I'm gonna call it a night. I'm getting really tired, and yeah, man, talk boxing tomorrow or some shit.
No, I got a little extra to put your on. Just a couple of things.
That's about
John
Andy
Ryder.
Ruiz.
John Ryder wants Golovkin. I don't mind going to Kazakhstan for the fight. John Ryder, who just most recently fought and lost to Saul Santos Alvarez Bergan, he is calling for a Triple G fight. Okay, Triple G has no belts. It would just be for the name recognition and the fact that John Ryder, he just showed his pugnacious uh, side by taking on 12 difficult rounds against Alvarez, and he was giving it his best, and he was making sure that Alvarez felt his power. So he was in that fight, although he was losing the majority of the rounds. I would say maybe I'd give him three at most. Nonetheless, I think that's a hell of a fight. Um, Triple G is near 40. I think John Ryder is maybe 34, around the same age as Canelo Alvarez. If he wants that fight, what do you guys think? Yay or nay?
I'm sorry, I didn't. I just didn't hear what you said right now.
John Ryder versus Triple G.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would be a good fight. I mean, Triple G's kind of on the downtrend, so I mean, shoot, if John Ryder's like a underdog, I'm willing to bet on that. You know, but I don't know about Triple G's age and all that because I mean he looked kind of sluggish his last fight. So, and also, when's the last time he's fought? I think he hasn't fought in a couple like in a year, right?
He hasn't fought since the Canelo fight sometime last year.
Yeah.
Wow.
At the end of the day, I lost. Look, I don't know. Triple G is retired because he relinquished the belts that he had, and at 160. So, I mean, it's wishful thinking for John Ryder. If I'm John, I'm looking for Billy Joe Saunders. I'm looking to fight Caleb Plant, somebody that's somewhat active.
Billy Joe's retired.
Really here for Triple G. It would be a good fight. It would be a dream, a big fight where it can sell a lot. Where possibly John Ryder could possibly win, especially since Triple G is 40 and he's very inactive. But the reality is, like, I think the world and the sport moved on from Triple G. He's not even in the list of conversations of like, you know.
It's yeah. I think Drew is Billy Joe Saunders retired. I mean, it's been at least 2 years that he's last fought.
Yeah, no, I think he's retired now. Ever since that Canelo fight, I mean, he got that Canelo money. He just retired, man. That after that orbital bone break, you know. So, yeah, I don't know what happened to that guy. He hasn't fought in over a year. I want to say since that Canelo fight as well.
Okay. Yeah, I would love to see that fight. I think Triple G should stay retired, especially since he really, he would just only be fighting for money now, and I don't think John Ryder is the guy to bring him that kind of money. He's got a little pull now, having fought Alvarez and putting on the hell of making a name of himself last minute. But I don't think that's the kind of fight that Triple G wants because I don't think it would pay that much. He did abandon all of his belts in the shots at fighting for belts because the opposition was becoming very it was going to be a hard opposition for not enough remuneration. So I don't think that fight is happening now. I know that I know. Oh, sorry about that.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to move on to another point. So if you got something to say, because the next thing is just very short and it's probably going to make you laugh. But if you want to say something about that, go ahead, Drew.
Yeah, I was going to say about Billy Joe. Billy Joe Sanders hasn't fought since 2021.
Wow.
Of May. So
wow.
It's been well over 2 years since he
fought. Yeah.
And then before that, he only fought once in 2020, twice in 2019. So, yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, he's definitely retired.
You guys ready for some funny stuff?
Joke time or what?
Yeah, joke time. Okay, Regis Progress Plan B opponent Adrian Broner if Haney fight does not happen.
That ain't happening. Broner ain't coming up, bro.
That's not happening.
What is going on with this guy, man? Adrian Broner. What does Adrian Broner bring to anything? Like, where do you go from fighting an
I
undisputed
would,
fighter and the weight class below you?
bro.
In
Triple. So Triple, I actually seen his IG. He has over 1 million followers.
Who?
Adrian Broner.
Oh yeah, bro. Broner's popular, bro.
Yeah.
He's a
So
weird dude.
yeah. So I
yeah,
think that's the thing right there. He puts butts in seats.
he
You know?
puts butts for sure.
Yeah, but that's what he does though. And then I think his last fight, he had a sold out crowd or something like that. I'm not sure. So it just didn't sell on pay per view that well because obviously he's not gonna sell on pay per view that good. But the attendance I heard was like sold out or something like that.
Hey, help me, Ricky. You said Adrian Broner is a weird dude. Can you expound on that? How is he a weird dude?
Yeah.
Oh man, I mean, if you haven't been following him or his
I don't.
career, he's a very
Yeah, I do.
weird dude. It takes a certain type of individual when you're getting your ass kicked by another man, Marcos Maidana, to turn him, spin him around, and try to hump him. I've never seen shit like that.
Or disrespect.
Uh,
Or
That's
disrespect.
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like a person that says, "Oh man, you're gay, you're gay, you're gay." That's all he has on the tip of his tongue, and he's like, "Bro, you're like, I don't know, bro. That word comes very fluently and to the tip of your tongue quite fast." Adrian Broner reacted in a situation where you're getting your ass kicked by Maidana, and you tried to embarrass him by humping him, but bro, he's the one that's fucking you up. I don't know. He's a weird dude. And there's like the segments of like when he's kissing Tank when they're like
Yeah,
intoxicated. Like, bro, the
yeah.
list goes on. Even that situation recently with the Uber driver, bro, he's a weird dude.
Yeah. Or he
I was
walks around
like,
fucking
he's a
naked.
weird dude when he got some money. He's a strange character. I don't really
It-
feel bad for Adrian Broner at all, man. I'm happy for his life. Like, bro, like at the end of the day, like his kids, and he's still taking good care of, but
Hall of Famer.
weird ass individual, man.
He's always begging for money. He's always saying embarrassing things, acting embarrassing, always getting arrested. Yeah, it's pretty pathetic. And by pathetic, I mean pitiful. And by pitiful, I mean full of pity. And that's how sometimes it's easy to feel for the man, that you should feel bad for the guy. But yeah, it's hard to really feel pity about a person that had the world at his hands and so much potential, and he chose to relinquish that power and that momentum in his favor to really delve and wallow in the fuckery.
Is
I
he
don't
Hall
know.
of
His
Famer?
relationship with Floyd was strange, bro. Like 1 minute he's like, "Man, that's Big Brother," and then the next minute he's like, "Man, fuck you, Floyd." Like, and it's just like, I don't know, bro. It's just very weird.
Hall of Famer,
Yeah.
three-weight division,
Nah,
has a
again,
lot of fucking names on his resume.
Is
I
he?
don't
Incredible
think-
names.
I think he's an incredible fighter at one point in the lower weights, right? You look at the fights with like Marcos Maidana was amazing. Even the other performance where he beat the shit out of that Mexican guy.
Mexican, get it.
It was not Jeremiah Ponce.
Eloy Perez.
Nah, fuck, who did he fight? That people were thinking that it was going to be a tough time, and he just pieced them apart.
What's his name? Yeah,
It
man.
was like he was a southpaw, kind of looked like Eric Morales.
Granados? No.
Marco.
Yeah, that was a while back.
Oh yeah,
There you
DeMarco.
go. So he has these moments, but nah, man. Again, in comparison to his contemporaries, right? There's multi-divisional champions, right? Navarrete is a multi-divisional champion. I would put Navarrete above Adrian Broner. Broner does have names. He did knock down Sean Porter at 144. He did fight Mikey Garcia. He did fight Marcos Maidana, Jesse Vargas. Like, his resume is stacked. It's pretty fucking good. That's why I'm proud of him. I'm like, bro, he gave a great account of himself in all of these fights. Now,
Yeah.
afterwards, yeah, it is pitiful. You know what I'm saying? It is strange, very weird, polarizing figure. But again, what he's done for the sport and the blood that he shed, yeah, a lot of these fighters deserve to be Hall of Famers. But again, if we're accepting him to boxing heaven, right? To immortality, to be revered against the greats of Floyd Mayweather and Pacquiao. Broner falls short, like many fighters do. But that doesn't mean he hasn't had an amazing life or amazing career. Like, let's not mistake that. His career is amazing. He is multi-divisional champion. It's not an easy feat to do. Those fighters that he fought, whether he won or lost, were difficult, amazing fights, madly entertaining. But again, to accept him into boxing heaven with the immortals that are giving you that passage with Sugar Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler and Robert Durant, he's nowhere on that level.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know what would motivate Regis Progress to even think, to even look and glance towards the direction of an Adrian Broner, except he's trying to build a name for himself of the fame.
All you need to know about Regis Prograis. Regis is not a Hall of Famer.
Well, he is also an older fighter, you know that. So he really
servants of heaven, but they could be kings in hell. You see what I'm saying? That's what kind of Broner is.
yeah. But again, Regis Progress, he's an older fighter. If I'm not mistaken, he's around 35, closer to 36.
Rodriguez?
Yeah, he's older. He's
No, I don't think he's that old.
Yeah, he about 34.
Really?
okay. So maybe you know.
Josh Taylor and Tron were amazing.
Yeah. So yeah. So from this moment on, especially at that weight class, the type of fighters that there are there at 140, he really has to be picky and choosy and trying to balance the name recognition along with the maximum financial potential and the accomplishments. Now that fight does not do much for Regis Progress and the accomplishments side, unless of course he thinks that a former three weight division champion Adrian Broner would look good at this juncture in his career, which I don't think it would. One. Secondly, I do think it would help him with the money side of things, but not if you've been following the sport. Because if you've been following the sport, Adrian Broner has looked lackluster in his past few fights, taking on no-name fighters and really eking by a win, and in fact maybe even losing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, do you want to have that guy be the guy that you want to peg one of your last few fights remaining on the Matchroom side? Because Matchroom only offered him 3 fights.
Absolutely. The idea is absolutely because, again, Adrian Broner, a lot of these modern boxers looked up to him. They saw him. They saw his career. They know of him. They know of his career. So it would be an honor to share the ring with Adrian Broner. Just because I'm not saying that he's a Hall of Famer or the top tier, bro, he sacrificed a lot and he deserves another shot of redemption, a shot to fight Regis. In fact, Broner has always stated, I would love to fight Regis. I just got to, get back in flow of things. That's an honorable fight for Regis Prograis. It's not on the level of a Hall of Fame worthy of a Devin Haney. Absolutely not. Devin Haney is very revered. He's doing great things for a young 24-year-old of himself. So, yeah, if you compare Devin versus Broner, yeah, Devin hands down. That's legacy, that's payday, that's recognition, that's the now. But Broner, let's not get it twisted. He's still a good fighter. Maybe not now. Who knows? He's a shell of himself. There's a lot of stuff going on. But it'd be nice. You would smile seeing Broner, knowing that, Regis gave him this opportunity to
But no, see, that's faulty because Adrian Broner.
It would do numbers for the zone business wise as well.
Yeah. But Adrian Broner, Regis Prograis was not looking up to Adrian Broner. Adrian Broner and Regis Prograis are the same age. They were just moving differently. One guy had more opportunities in name recognition and shots than the other guy. But it's because Adrian Broner was moving differently. He was fighting a lot of people who had some hype and momentum behind them, and he was doing so while going up.
No backing, bro.
What do you mean?
So this is what I was talking about yesterday. Adrian Broner, to your point, had the success, right, and the backing of and the stardom early at the age of 20, bro, when he beat Eloy Perez, right? So he is not that he was moving differently. It's just that as a star grew up, also the star fused out relatively fast. To your point, he is the same age as Regis Prograis, but bro, Adrian Broner is an old 34-year-old, where Regis is a fresher 34-year-old. And that's because, yeah, like Dreamer's saying, a la Maidana. Exactly. Regis has a Maidana, it's Josh Taylor. But Broner has had multiple Maidanas. He's had, in terms of not a devastating beatdown, but he did fight a Mikey Garcia. He did fight a Sean Porter. Those are brutal training camps. Just prepare for those fucking certain styles. If I give you a couple of names of Regis Prograis, you're only gonna tell me, oh, he's only fought Josh Taylor and Cepeda.
Yeah. So I guess in that sense you can be right. The Regis program was looking up to an Adrian Broner, because the only thing that he could look up to is Adrian Broner's balls, because Adrian Broner definitely had more balls than Regis program. By starting an accelerated career at a much younger age.
HBO backing, that's where that influence.
No, but still, you still have to come through, though. You see what I'm saying? You can have all the backing in the world, but if you ain't performing, that's just it. Look,
Ryan Garcia.
Look, what up? These are all the. Let me tell you. Let me tell you all the fights that I recall having watched of Adrian Broner. Eloy Perez. Yeah, exactly. Vicente Escobedo, Antonio De Marco, Gavin Ruiz, Paulie Malignaggi, Marco Maidana, Carlos Molina, Manuel Taylor, John Molina, Sean Porter, Ashley Teofane, Khabib Akhtabardiev, Adrian Granados, Mikey Garcia, Jesse Vargas. I saw all of those fights, and you know how many I've seen of Regis program?
Maybe 2 or 3.
Why? Because Adrian Broner had done
and fucking Jose Felix Jr. or something. That's all you know about Regis, bro.
Yeah, Adrian Broner had the testicular fortitude to take on all of these fights. So in that sense, you're right. Regis Prograis can only look up to Adrian Broner. Now he wants to take him when he's at his weakest. Okay, look.
Nah, man, that's what I'm telling you. He's got the HBO backing. Broner had the HBO backing.
HBO doesn't exist anymore, my friend.
But when he had him, Broner was an HBO fighter. Regis had to get it out the mud, essentially, without that backing, without the big promotional. And I think, too, it was Regis' fault, actually, because if you really look at Regis' career, he burns a lot of bridges to every establishing promotional company that there is. He talks bad about PBC. He talked bad about Marv Nation. He talked bad about Top Rank. He talked
Eddie Hearn is next.
And guess what? He's talking bad about Eddie Hearn and Devin Haney. So he burns bridges. Where Adrian Broner, he also burned bridge too, and it was with Rock Nation. Right? It's
almost like Regis Prograis is spoiled without necessarily even having earned the right to be spoiled. Like, where's the spoilage coming from? Like, it doesn't make sense.
So you're saying that Regis is spoiled if he takes the Adrian Broner fight?
No, Regis is acting spoiled even though he's never done anything to deserve the spoilage. I mean, here's the thing. Adrian Broner has fought in a lot of people, a lot of names, and he's entertained for many, many years under various divisions, accomplished many things, and if he wants to act like the and get fights that are foolish, guess what? He's developed a fan base over the years that will entertain his foolishness. Regis Prograis hasn't. Regis Prograis has never done an inkling of the type of work that Adrian Broner has. Now he wants to take him on at this moment just to assume the kind of influence that Adrian Broner and the defeat of that man would bring about him. I just don't think it would at this moment. I don't think this is what Regis Prograis should use up his 2 remaining opportunities for millions of dollars under Matchroom by fighting this guy now. Well, here's the thing, though. You're right.
question.
Eddie Hearn has always wanted Adrian Broner to cross over to his stable and fight. He's always asked. Conor Ben has asked for Adrian Broner to take on a fight. So I do believe that the reason there's a mentioning of Adrian Broner is because Eddie Hearn is with
Wants
that.
to use Adrian Broner's marketability and
Hmm.
American influence to
Hmm.
boost up his fucking roster. That's the only way. He's basically, yeah, I mean, that's all I gotta say about that situation. Look, man, Adrian Broner is a young vet, an old vet actually. Not only does
Yeah,
he have a shit ton of fights, when you look at his career, you know, like you ran down the list of the roster of his resume. We've
great
seen
stuff.
all of those fights because
Great stuff.
not only, like, again, the HBO exposure. He had the storytelling, and Broner was a polarizing figure. He used technology and social media to his benefit and detriment. Like he had a YouTube channel, and if you go look at his content, it's fucking great. He did have a rap career. He was like he was oh you always heard of a new headline. He was active on social media. Regis Prograis, he might be doing those things, but not at the Adrian level, not at Adrian Broner's level. Again, Regis, we've seen a couple of his fights, not just the Jones that paid him. You know, we saw Danielito Sorria. You know, you also saw the I don't know the Relic fight. You saw the Julius and Dongo fight that only lasted like 1 or 2 rounds. So you've seen a couple of his fights, but they're not. Regis never really had that big exposure. Even the Zepeda fight, which is a big fight, right, and a very good fight, you know, people didn't really log on to Marv Nation on their website or wherever it is that they were streaming and pay that pay-per-view money for it, right? Now there might be a link up it on YouTube, but if you go check the views, bro, it hasn't even hit 1 million.
Hmm.
So, like what I'm saying is, again, that promotional backing, Broner had HBO. He had that attention. He did associate with certain characters like Floyd Mayweather and Ride That Wave. He did bring Tank Davis to the forefront and introduce them to Floyd Mayweather. Regis never really had that. You see, Regis does have it with Oshaki Foster, but nobody really knows Foster. They just know him as a guy that beat Ray Vargas. But again, Broner played his cards right, but again,
Yeah.
fused out really way too fast. And yeah, bro, he just
Yeah,
he's
Adrian Broner, the guy with the gun, the guy who retires and then retires,
yeah,
the
man.
guy with the criminal charges, the guy that kissed his man versus Andy Ruiz, who gets tramp stamps. I don't
Yeah,
know
no,
what's
I
weirder.
mean, yeah, that's the thing about these figures, bro. Is like you have to, you know, you got to aspire the good version of them.
A tramp stamp.
Yeah, that would be for a different topic, man. Yeah, man, no, man. Have a good night, guys.
All
Um,
right. Good night, gentlemen. Good night, everybody.
yeah, nice.
Mr.
All right, man. Good
Liston,
night. Yep.
Mr. Vargas, Dreamer Vargas. Man, we have a bunch of Vargas for our fan base, but a good night, one and all.
All right, man. Peace.
Good
Good
night,
night.
Drew. Later,
Good
homie.
night, Ricky.
Later,
Nice
guys.
speed.